I'm waiting until I see it on my computer, Wicker. Okay, we're good. Wicker says we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Team Draft Fellows Project, live coverage of the NFL Draft. We're waiting here. The Jaguars are going to go on the clock here in just a moment. But we're going to be here all night. We're excited. Oh, I see it. Okay, we're on. We're good. But yeah, I mean, we're here to cover the draft. We're going to be telling you guys, taking you through our mock draft, our live picks, how we think each pick is going to be graded, things like that. So, we're really excited to be here, really excited to have everybody that's tuning in. We will have a call line going after the first couple picks. Anybody can call in. And yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, we're just really excited. This is kind of the culmination of our year-long Severn Fellows project, where we have been modeling an NFL draft board using statistics and specifically linear regressions we have run on modeling software called Stata. And if you guys want to hear a little bit more about that, we'll probably be talking about it later in the night as we get to some of the later picks, and we'll also be talking about it on all our podcast episodes, which you can find on our YouTube at Severn Fellows Team Draft. So after this is over, definitely check that out. But we're just really excited for tonight. It's a big night for our project and just should be a really fun night for the both of us.
Yeah, I mean, this is the culmination. As we see here, we're waiting. We have the TV in front of us. We are waiting for the Jaguars to make their first pick. They're not on the clock yet. Frankly, we're kind of hoping that they don't take the whole clock per usual, but that's always seems to be how it goes. So, we'll wait and see. Yeah, I think we projected Aiden Hutchinson going number 1 overall. We think that's the right pick. But there absolutely has been talk of Trayvon Walker. We have him at 8 in our mock draft. And again, just to clarify, our mock draft, it looks kind of funny on our Instagram. We have it if you haven't seen it posted. It looks a little funny, but there's a reason for that. So with our modeling, we projected how good a player is going to be in the NFL. So we know for a fact that Trayvon Walker will go either 1 or 2, maybe fall to 3. Aiden Hutchinson is going to go number 1 or number 2. But we don't think, if we were to pick, whoever we wanted, or if we were to be an NFL front office guy right now, we would say that Aiden Hutchinson's 1, Ahmad Gardner's 2. So that's why, if the draft looks a little funny, if you see Derek Stingley Jr. In 27th overall, that's going to be why. We just don't see the production. We don't see, that he's played at a high enough level for long enough to warrant that top pick. But we understand that he will go within the top 10. There's no question about that.
Yeah, we released our mock draft on Instagram last night, along with our podcast episode explaining our picks on YouTube. And we definitely got a lot of questions about how we were choosing our players, and particularly Derek Stingley had a big fall to 27 at the Bucks, and Kyle Hamilton had a big fall to 31 at the Bengals. And we totally understand that is not where these guys are going to get picked. We are not mocking the draft to say we think this is where these guys are getting picked. We're mocking the draft to say down the line, our model is saying that these guys aren't going to be as elite as many people think they might be at this moment. And that really comes from our models favoring of guys who produce. And Derek Stingley Jr. has not really produced much since his freshman year, or in 2019 at LSU. He had an amazing, maybe one of the greatest college football seasons from a cornerback we've ever seen. But in the past 2 years at LSU, he's been a little injury-riddled, not been on the field a ton, and he's really struggled in comparison to his freshman year. And I feel like a lot of people are just giving him the benefit of the doubt because he had a really strong 2019 campaign, and they're not looking at the fact that he really struggled these last 2 years. And although he does have the tools, we haven't seen him put it together in 2 years. And that's the reason he's fallen so low in our mock to 27.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing I keep on saying is if he can't stay consistent in college, how is he going to stay consistent in the NFL? These are guys, playing week in, week out, you have to play at your highest level, or else, the media, your front office, you're not going to, be supported the way that you are in college when, they really love you like that. A team can turn on you just like that really quick. So, if Derek Stingley, if you can't be productive in college, all 3 years, what says that he can be productive in the NFL? Now, we understand he's a good player. He's still a first-round prospect for sure. And honestly, in our personal opinions, our model may have predicted him lower than he probably should go. Mm-hmm. I personally don't know if he will be number 27. But we felt like the model really didn't like him. It really didn't like his production. So we just didn't feel right putting him as high as he maybe should go, because we spent time in this model. It has validity to it, and so we trusted it, and we understand that it's not going to be right. As much as we hope it will be, but it's something that we wanted to listen to, and it's something we wanted to trust. So yeah, we're very excited. I see Derek Carr, Darren Waller on stage now. I guess Vegas getting everyone hyped up for the draft.
We're really hoping the Jags get on the clock here in a second. And it
TV
looks like they are.
They are.
But the important thing here is our model's not going to be perfect. We know that. And one of the big reasons we did the NFL draft with our project is because it's one of the most random aspects of football. You look at the NFL draft over the past however many years you take a sample, there have been so many busts in the past. So you look at the last 10 years, there have been so many busts. And that's because it's so hard to predict these guys coming out of college. And regardless of how much resources or modeling or scouting you do, watching film, you're not going to get everyone right. And that is why we're looking for, with our model, to get a large chunk right and to really see how well we can do. And that's why we're really excited to look back in a few years and see how well our model did in comparison to the actual draft, which is probably one of the more exciting things we're going to get out of this project.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, we understand that everything that we're doing, every single team in the NFL is doing times 20 or 30. Like, we get that. But, it's our shot at it, at a couple of high schoolers, and I think we're pretty proud of the work that we did. And yeah, I think that it's going to be great, no matter what, even if we get all the picks wrong. It was a good experience, and, we're really excited. We'll do a full debriefing podcast episode, talking about our process. But of course we have a lot of, it looks like on the TV right now, all the festivities, got to get everyone excited. But we're just waiting for the Jaguars to get on the clock.
Yeah, if nothing else, we're going to have learned a lot more about modeling and using Stata and using Excel, because we have spent a lot of time throwing in data into Excel and then transferring it to Stata, running regressions, which has just been really rewarding to do at the high school level, because going into this project, we really had a decent amount of Excel experience, but nothing complicated and no real statistical modeling experience, which has been a real tool that we've been able to pick up from this project, which has been nice.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have Derek Carr, again, just hyping everybody up. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun. This is kind of our culmination of our process. We do want to thank Admiral TV and Mr. Soden for allowing us to use Admiral TV, because we had a last second issue last night with our streaming. We would have loved to stream this on our YouTube channel at Team Draft, at Severn Fellows Team Draft, but it's not an issue. We're good where we are now. Admiral TV. Hopefully a lot of you guys didn't even know that this was going on, but just saw Admiral TV and you were excited about it. So, we're happy to be in this position. And yeah, we're ready to go. Huge thank you to Mr. Dominic, to Admiral TV. Gavin Wicker is doing our tech tonight, so thank you to Gavin Wicker. Apologies in advance, my voice is a little bit messed up. We did our 80-minute mock draft last night, and it's been a busy week, so my voice is a little bit messed up. You'll definitely hear that throughout the night. But we now see that the Jaguars are on the clock. You see Doug Peterson, Shad Khan, a pretty quiet draft room there. I'm sure they've gotten their picked out by now. I would hope so. But you never know. I mean, we can now turn our focus to this pick. we've heard all night or all year for that matter. Is it Hutchinson? It's been Hutchinson for a long time. For a long time it was Thibodeau.
It was Thibodeau, and then it was Hutchinson, and now it's looking like it might be Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I feel like the guy who's been in the conversation, and the reason we mocked him at number 1 is because he had that elite level college production last year, and he's been in the conversation the whole time as Hutchinson. We saw Thibodeau kind of in the early season of college football ranked up there, and then throughout the year, kind of getting towards the end of the year, he was still up there kind of dueling with Hutchinson. And in the post college football and pre-draft process, he's kind of fallen down a little bit, and the hype for Trayvon Walker has shot up the boards with his pretty incredible combine. But we're still buying into Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. He didn't have the best 40 time. I believe he ran 4.73.
There are questions about his arms being too short. He ran a 4.74. We're buying into it. Something I was talking to Kieran, earlier today, and he brought up a good point. It is almost a disadvantage to be known as like the number 1 overall pick like a year before, or like be that guy that's hyped up all off season, because that immediately opens you up to just any criticism. If there's any criticism, it'll be levied your way, because people are bored. The media loves narratives, they love excitement. When you know that the number 1 pick is going to be Aiden Hutchinson for 5 months, you want to start talking about other things. And I understand that a lot of front offices don't necessarily buy into that hype, but at the same time, that noise that starts to grow around the NFL. And so I think you see Hutchinson made so much sense, or even Thibodeau made sense for a long time, and Hutchinson took him over, as we think he deserves. But Hutchinson was the pick for so long; it was so clear. I mean, if you had people that had
up until maybe even the last 3 weeks or so, he was the locked in number 1 pick, number 1 talent in the class. And then you look at mocks in the last 3 weeks, people are starting to get bored of seeing Hutchinson up there. And you see Trayvon Walker start to creep into the mix. And over the last few weeks, we've seen him really rise, just shoot to the top of draft boards. And I feel like JP and I talked about this on our podcast last night. It's that pre-draft hype process where everyone wants something to talk about.
Right.
And you see they're going through every ounce of Hutchinson's footage or film looking for a flaw, and looking for any reason to not crown him the number 1 pick, and look for some way to create some drama around the number 1 pick. And that's what they've done with Trayvon Walker. And I feel like Hutchinson should go here. He's the most polished pass rusher in the class by far. He's shown the ability to make pro-level moves, not just showing a speed rush or bull rush like Thibodeau, who has questions on the ability of his pure finesse and moves outside his power and speed rush. And I think that's why Hutchinson should be number 1 here.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said. When you're looking at that much film on your number 1 guy, because obviously they do a lot of research into it, and when he seems like the number 1 for so long, you look for any reason not to draft him. And it seems like they kind of found that reason. Again, we've talked about this before, but the cons of Aiden Hutchinson, you got a guy that kind of lacks some length. It's sure, but in college you've seen he's been able to make up for that every step of the way. That hasn't been a problem for him. One common criticism that I've heard is he just broke out in his senior year, and I've been talking about this for days and days now. I hate it when people are saying that a guy broke out in his senior year, they're not good enough for the draft. I think that's kind of foolish. Joe Burrow broke out in his senior year, and that was a criticism on him, and he just brought the team to the Super Bowl. The senior year is the year before the draft. There's really no reason why that should be an issue. For players to break out in their senior year, and that's a knock on them. To me, that just shows they're committed to getting better. They have the talent. They just needed the right situation. I don't really understand why that's a knock on players that during the season right before they went to the NFL draft, they played their best football. That should be what's happening. So I don't really understand that kind of criticism against him. As we see, the pick is in. They didn't use their entire time.
That is great to see. That's what we're hoping to see all night, honestly.
And I will let you know right now, because I'm not sure if I received a random call or someone from the from Admiral TV, but our call line will be in use after the number 5 pick. We're gonna go first 5 picks just ourselves. After that, we'll call in. We'll be picking up calls. Obviously things need to stay appropriate, or else we get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we wouldn't want
that. but absolutely, feel free to call in if you have an opinion. If your favorite team's on the board, we'd love to hear what you have to say about the pick. And hear your input. We're gonna be here for basically 4 hours tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
The other thing we were talking about is how Hutchinson gets the critique for being a late bloomer, but the reason he was such a late bloomer is he switched to the really focusing full-time on outside rushing after his junior season last year. He got injured early in the season, came back, was a lot slimmer, a lot quicker, and was able to line up outside the tackle full-time and really focus on pass rushing. Instead of playing more that 4-3 D-end, he moved to the 3-4 outside rusher. And I thought it was really just a product of his work to slim down and work on outside rushing that saw his increase in production up to 14 sacks, 10 TFLs, which was and he was probably one of the more dominant edge rushers we've seen in college football in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it when the pick comes in, but, on the topic of Aiden Hutchinson, we'll be talking about our model all night, but our model did love Aiden Hutchinson. It's not, we know that Aiden Hutchinson is kind of the consensus number 1 or number 2 guy, but also the model, again, it loves production, and Aiden Hutchinson, that's all he did. All he did was produce. As we see Roger Goodell walk onto the stage, we'll give it a break while he announces this pick, but the model loved him because he had that kind of production, and there's really no denying that. That's why, to me, this is an obvious pick. All right, he's announcing it. The first overall pick, Trayvon Walker. Wow, and I gotta tell you, I'm honestly not that surprised after all the hype he's gotten recently. I felt like that's where they were gonna go, but to me, it's just not a good number 1 overall pick. He's not developed enough. He has a lot to work on, and when you're drafting number 1 overall, you want a sure thing. That's what it is. You want somebody that is going to come in and produce. And I feel like you have that in Aiden Hutchinson, and I don't see why. Trayvon Walker, incredibly athletic, really good in the run game, but he doesn't have much. He doesn't really beat his linemen as much as you'd like to see him. Beat the linemen. So really, happy for the guy. It's awesome, and they may have a great player ahead of them. Obviously, they've done their homework. They've looked into him at every step of the way. But I frankly, I don't think that this is the best pick available.
I think one of the big pros we talked about with Aiden Hutchinson was his ability to produce using a variety of pass rushing moves and showing his polish at the pass rusher position. Whereas Walker, one of the knocks on him has been, yes, he's incredibly raw, he's incredibly athletic, he shows incredible skill in the run game, but he does not really have much outside of his bull rush and speed move to go to when we're talking about pass rushing. He's one of the more dominant run defenders in college football. That can't be questioned. Yeah. And he also played on an incredible Georgia defense, which there's an argument on both sides. You can argue the Georgia defense because as we see the Lions already getting their pick in, that is really nice to see.
So yeah, as guys that are going to be here for 4 hours, we'd love to see the picks fly in as quickly as possible.
But right as I was saying, with the Georgia defense, you see incredible defense. One side of it, you have the idea that he's surrounded by incredible talent. He's not going to be able to rack up all the numbers. But there's also the idea that you don't if you're surrounded by such incredible talent, you're not getting double teamed on every play. So you have a matchup advantage that you might not have at other schools when you're the complete focus of the defense, of the offensive scouting report. And he certainly wasn't the complete focus with guys like Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis on the Georgia defense.
Yeah, I mean,
in that front seven.
Look, what Walker has is explosiveness and he has strength. That's something that they can develop. And again, that's why I believe, and I don't like this pick, but I also believe in the pick. Because, there's a reason he's going number 1 overall. He can be developed into, genuinely, he could become one of the best players in the league, and I don't doubt that. My thought is just, I even said it on the screen. He's got 60% production, or the greatest production 60.
Yeah, the next gen stats.
When you're going with the number 1 overall pick, I just don't understand how you go with a guy that's really only produced, at a level 60, whereas Aiden Hutchinson may, I'm not sure what the grade will be. I would assume that this Lions pick will be Aiden Hutchinson.
Assume it'll be. The local kid out of Michigan.
Right.
You have to expect Detroit's taking Hutchinson. He
has that kind of, it feels like he has that great Lions attitude, that thing that they're trying to build there. So we see
I know a thing that was discussed is the fact that Hutchinson, you can't really see Hutchinson falling past 2, whereas another thing with Walker was he could have slipped if he didn't, as we see Hutchinson coming off the board here, if he didn't go 1 to the Jags where he had been kind of linked, he could have slipped further down the draft board. We had him mocked at number 8, also we want to reiterate that Walker, we're not saying he's a bad player by any means.
He's going number 8 for a reason.
He's top 10 in our draft. As we see the grades come in, next-gen stats for Hutchinson, we see 96 production,
right,
which definitely outperforms the 61 production.
Yeah, again, our model, we'll tell you right ahead of time, our model favors speed and it favors production. Frankly, again, that's why you can't say no to Aiden Hutchinson. He had such unbelievable production. He was a Heisman candidate. Frankly, as someone that hasn't watched a lot of college football, I hardly heard the name Trayvon Walker. Aiden Hutchinson's a household name. My mom, who doesn't watch any football, probably could have told you that Aiden Hutchinson is a football player. Trayvon Walker is a foreign name to a lot of people. Good for him for boosting his draft stock, but I genuinely, I don't see that kind of developmental player. That kind of player usually goes off the board, and with his kind of potential, you see him going off the board in the 10 to 12 range. Again, we have him at 8. So you understand, he's definitely going to be picked high, but I just don't understand the number 1 overall pick being a guy you're going to have to develop.
And I watched a little more college football than JP last year. And I found myself watching quite a few Michigan games last year, and he would just take over games. You'd see teams sending running backs, tight ends, doing whatever they could to stop him, and he'd just get relentless pressure in big games, and it felt like he was the surefire best defender in college football last year.
Yeah, we're looking at the highlights now. He's got speed. He's got a motor that's going every single play. He's an exciting player. And, I think the Lions, as we see their draft room, should be thrilled right now. They're getting a guy who, again, would be number 1 in a lot of drafts. He's really such an impressive player. I think Dan Campbell, that's the kind of pick that keeps Dan Campbell his job a couple more years, even if he struggles, because I think Aiden Hutchinson will come out and he'll perform immediately. There kind of have been questions about his ceiling, and that's understandable because he's not the athletic freak that a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt is. But Aiden Hutchinson will come in, have an impact immediately, and frankly can be, an all-pro within, I think, 2 to 3 years.
I think the big thing for him as well is he's a lot of his questions revolve around his 40 time and his lack of top-end speed, where we see Trayvon Walker ran 4.51. Hutchinson runs 4.74, which isn't great at the D-end edge rusher position, but he did have a really, really good shuttle. He ran 4.15 in the 20-yard shuttle, which our model likes to see get off, and that shows your get off from a lineman's or edge rusher point of view, and that's a big thing. Although he might not be that long distance speed guy, run 40 yards down the field, chase down a ball carrier, he has the get off to make an impact with his quickness, despite the fact that he's running 4.74.
Right. So just a couple things. First of all, the Texans pick is in. We mocked Ikem Ekwonu to the Texans. They basically need anybody, so they're going to go best player available. Our model projected him as the best tackle in the class. He's strong, he's powerful. We'll get to him in a moment, or whoever's picked at that point. Josh Bing did comment, Walker higher ceiling. Trayvon Walker may have a higher ceiling.
I think he definitely does have a higher ceiling.
He has unbelievable athleticism. He can be taught the traits. But again, I don't think with a number 1 overall pick that you're going for a guy who maybe has a 50% chance of being great. You want a guy that's got 100% chance of being great. And I think Aiden Hutchinson has that. Even if his absolute peak is not the same absolute peak of Trayvon Walker, I just think you're getting a guaranteed all-pro player in Aiden Hutchinson. I don't see why make that gamble with the number 1 overall pick? They've had the number 1 overall pick 2 years in a row. And Trayvon Walker, he may be a great player, but I wouldn't be that surprised if they show up with a number 1 or a top 3 or top 5 pick next year. It doesn't seem like he can come in and have that immediate impact and be a guaranteed guy.
Also, it's also the Jaguars, so we wouldn't be too surprised to see them at the number in the top 5 once again next year. Just the way they've fared in the past few years. I don't know if Trayvon Walker can turn him around by himself. Although it will be nice to see. Hopefully, I hope to see Trevor Lawrence perform step his game up. Maybe make them an interesting team to watch next year at least. It would be nice to see. And
I believe. There's no reason not to believe in Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, he's a great player. He had Urban Meyer last year. I trust Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson to me is a very good coach. He had a couple mistakes in Philadelphia, but we have the number 3 pick coming in here, where the Houston Texans will be selecting. Who do we have? Derek
Stingley Jr. Oh, wow. Boy.
Now, it seemed like, again, that's not necessarily an unpopular pick. He's had such an amazing career. He had such an amazing 2019 year at LSU. But again, the first thing that pops up when you see him is Elite 2019. And I know I talked about how we don't like, the idea that just the seniors, breaking out in your senior year is an issue. Derek Stingley broke out in his freshman or sophomore year. And then, played inconsistently after that. Again, he just hasn't shown what I think he needs to show to warrant this high of a pick. Now, I understand he will probably be impressive, and I understand that the Texans needed anybody that they could get. But another thing to me is that the game starts in the trenches. That's where you start winning games. As I like the Lions have done that. They've drafted offensive linemen. They've drafted defensive linemen. They're going to be building around those trenches because then you get a couple star players and you can go. I don't think also that this pick necessarily changes the franchise, although Derek Stingley could be very good.
I can certainly see. Derek Stingley has all the tools. There's no question about that. He ran a very good 40 time. He has the ability to lock up in man coverage. But he has shown, I know last year a lot of his lack of production came from the fact that he was injured for most of the season. But we can't look past his 2020 season where he played a very decent chunk of the season and didn't have the same impact that he had in 2019.
Yeah, to take a look at it, I know people don't always trust PFF grades, but 2019 at 91.7, that's unbelievable. You really can't get much better than that. 2020 at 72.1. That's not just like a little bit of a fall off. That is a massive fall off right there. And then 2021, 66.6. Again, that stuff to us, it's undeniable. You can't just move past that as if, you're going to get 2019 Derek Stingley. You may, but you may get 2020 and 2021. So that's why, as Kieran and Josh said, the model doesn't like that one. But again, we're not trying to predict what was going to happen. I think you look at this pick 5 years down the line, we may be proven very wrong, and frankly, we probably will be. But there's a solid chance you look at this pick 20 years down the line, and you look at the fact that Derek Stingley hasn't produced, and you'll say, well, we should have seen it coming because he hasn't shown the production since 2019.
Yeah, another thing about Stingley is he did show the ability to lock up and press man throughout his career at LSU, but we thought there was another corner who showed an even greater ability to lock up and press man, and that was Sauce Gardner. And that's why we mocked Sauce Gardner at number 2 to the Lions, which Lions completely understandable. Aiden Hutchinson's there, you're taking him.
Absolutely.
But if Aiden Hutchinson was off the board, we had Sauce Gardner, hometown kid as well from Detroit, from Michigan. going to the Lions because of his ability in press man. And there's a stat. Sauce Gardner didn't give up a touchdown in his entire college career, which is just insane to think about. He played an entire career without giving up a touchdown in coverage. And if I kind of touched on this last night in our mock draft, but if any of you watched the Alabama-Cincinnati college football playoff game, not the prettiest game. Cincinnati didn't play their best. I watched the whole thing. I did not really enjoy it as someone pulling for the underdogs in Cincinnati. But Sauce Gardner definitely played his best. He dominated the entire game. I think he gave up one catch for 14 yards, if I'm correct. It might have been 0 catches, but I'm confident that he dominated the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, so you see the Jets on the clock here. We believe that the apparently the pick is in. Again, apologies for my voice. But we do believe that this will be Sauce Gardner, but our model likes that pick, and Sauce Gardner has been mocked to the Jets for a long, long time now. So we really like this pick if it is Sauce Gardner. Even beyond his college career, apparently he does not remember the last touchdown he gave up. That's pretty unbelievable as a football player. A lot of guys say they remember every single play they ever had. Well, Sauce Gardner does not remember the last touchdown he gave up. And I'm sure, at the NFL level, he'll probably give up a touchdown. But honestly, you never know. I mean, he has really been a lockdown for his entire life. And so I really, Caden Blank says Sauce is better. I completely agree. Sauce Gardner is the guy that we think the Texans should have taken. If they wanted to go cornerback, they should have taken Sauce Gardner. To me, what you're getting with him is certainty, and what you're getting with Derek Stingley is uncertainty. And honestly, I don't think that their ceilings are all that different. I think they're both have a ceiling of a lockdown island corner. They both play relatively similarly with their physicality and in man coverage. So really, when you have the chance to take Ahmad Gardner, who's a surefire pick, I don't really understand why you don't take him over Derek Stingley.
I also think you have to talk about Sauce Gardner's length when you talk about him, because he's a corner at 6'3" with an incredible wingspan who's able to lock up and press man because he is so long and so agile despite his length. Gavin is just giggling over there.
You like that call. He
does.
Sauce Gardner
he likes Sauce Gardner's length.
But he truly is. I mean, Sauce Gardner. That I just really like the idea that that you can quite literally put Sauce Gardner on the other team's best receiver, and that you don't even have to think about him for the rest of the time. During the game, he's just going to be there locking him up every step of the way. So really, I think that's a surefire pick, and I hope here that the Jets take him. Although we did, at number 4 we had Kayvon Thibodeau, so I don't think that would be a bad pick either.
I could also see an edge rusher here. Very well could see Thibodeau coming off the board.
He's got a high ceiling, but
I think Sauce probably is the pick here, but right. Thibodeau definitely wouldn't mind seeing that.
Thibodeau could go off the board. I don't think they're going to go offensive line. They've tried in the past couple of years to bolster their offensive line. I think they want to shore up their defense for sure. They've got, hopefully, who they hope is their future. In Zach Wilson, he had some highlights and some lowlights last year. Mm-hmm. But you also have to remember that they have the number 10 overall pick if they don't trade out of it. And there we have them taking a wide receiver. So we'll see what happens. Roger Goodell's coming to the podium now.
Let's see.
I'm trying to read his lips. Ahmad Gardner out of Cincinnati.
That's what we expected there.
Now, another interesting thing, looking at this, that's 4 defenders in the first 4 picks. I'm sure that's happened before, but that's pretty shocking. In a such heavily offensive, such heavy offensive league. That's pretty surprising to see 4 defenders in the first 4 picks. Again, you look at, I like these draft scores that they're giving. Hit an overall 93, athleticism 72, production at a 97. Again, there's a reason why we like Sauce Gardner so much. He had the production that you wanted to see, and so I think that's, again, a surefire pick.
I do question the athleticism at a 72 a little bit. He ran 4.41. It's not like he's running 4.5 as a cornerback, and at his size, 4.41 is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Frankly, I kind of think that's a little bit crazy too to have that low athleticism. But again, the thing that stands out is just the entire time he's just had such good production in college that that there's really no question here. I know he also interviewed very well. I'm not sure how much interviews matter to these front offices, but I think they do. I think they want to build a culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why Kayvon Thibodeau has kind of slipped. People have said he hasn't interviewed very well. So he's a good personality. People like him, and he's a lockdown guy. So going to New York, I mean, I love it. And you love the nickname, Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner. And he's got the sauce chain on. He's a guy that I think the fan base can really rally around.
And as JP said in our mock draft last night, we're hoping to see down the line in a few years the term Sauce Island in the NFL.
That's exactly right, because he is an island. I mean, he is so good. Again, zone coverage, he can use a little bit of work, but I think that can be taught. What can't be taught is his physicality and his ability to just lock up the receiver on an island. As we're seeing highlights, he's also good against the run game. He's a good tackler. And yeah, I like that idea, Sauce Island, because that's really what he is. You just put him on an island, and he will lock up your best receiver.
I think another thing, like as JP's talking about his tackling, he was underrated as a tackler last year because of his size. Because he is only 190 at his height. He didn't get the love that some of the other corners got as a tackler. But he really does not have fear to come up and tackle. He will come up and attack the football, regardless of the size of the ball carrier. He has no fear tackling.
Yeah, so, as I look in the chat here, please leave questions, comments in the chat. I love to see them. I like
as we
Kieran,
see Tyquan Thornton at 4.
Kieran shouting out Tyquan Thornton. We'll definitely touch on him a little bit later, but we do love ourselves.
We have a lot to say about Tyquan Thornton.
We love ourselves and Tyquan Thornton. He had a major jump in our model. But Josh brings up a good question. Does Stingley have tougher competition? Frankly, I mean, yes, he got a boost in our model for having tougher competition, against those really Power 5 schools. But Cincinnati, it's not like they were playing, against high school teams. Again, as Campbell said, in the national championship, Sauce Gardner gave up one catch against College football playoff. Semifinal. You're right.
Thank you, Gavin.
Again, Sauce Gardner gave up one catch against Alabama, against some of the best receivers in college football. So I understand, that question. Did Stingley have better competition? Yes, he did. But when Sauce Gardner was put up against the toughest competition, he went out there and performed. So I understand that, but he's played so well that it's not really a question anymore.
I think another thing with Gardner, comparing Gardner and Stingley, is Gardner wasn't really asked to play zone, and Stingley played zone, but he didn't play zone very well. So whereas we look at Gardner, who basically played press man every snap, Stingley played a little bit more zone. He played a lot of man, but he played a little bit more zone at LSU in the past couple years, and he seemed to struggle a couple times. He did lose some players in zone coverage while passing off in the past year, which is a question because that's important. Regardless of whether you have the physical tools as a cornerback, if you're going to play zone coverage, which almost every team in the NFL is going to ask their corners to do at some point, you have to have the ability to pass off receivers and pick up receivers down the field.
Right. So a couple comments. First of all, the Giants pick is in. After our first break, we will have breaks every 8 picks. They'll be short, just 5 minutes. But I clearly need to rest on my vocal cords, and just in my time to relax. After the first break, we will have the Raptors and the 76ers game up on the other TV. We won't be commentating, but I will give you some updates because the Raptors are looking to come back. It is Game 6. The Raptors, after winning 2 straight, are looking to be the first team to ever come back down 0-3. I would love to see it. So I'm definitely rooting for the Raptors. So if anybody, any basketball fans, we will have some updates spread out, if the game is good.
I'm not sure if Mr. Laffey is still in here, but if he is, I know he will be sweating with us as we watch that game because I do not think he'd like to see the Sixers blow a 3-0 lead.
It would be the first time ever, and frankly, I'm rooting for it. Again, I understand Mr. Laffey is sweating, but I'm rooting heavy against the 76ers. I would love to see it. We have some people.
Here we go.
We have somebody hyping up the crowd. The Giants have brought out one of their fans, which you'd love to see.
It's always good to see that.
You do like to see that. And Roger Goodell announcing the Giants selection. Mr. Laffey says, "Let's go Sixers." They may lose tonight. That would not be good. But Roger Goodell announces. I think they go offensive line here.
I think there's a good chance it's Neal, but I'm hoping it's Cross.
Yeah, so we projected Icky's our number 1 tackle, Charles Cross number 2, Evan Neal number 3. I mean, frankly, they're really interchangeable. They're all great players.
They were all loved by our model.
Model loved all of them. We think Icky's number 1, Charles Cross number 2. We would love to see Cross just so we could get it right on the nose.
It would be nice to get one right on the nose.
But it makes a lot of sense for this to be a tackle. You know, their offensive line was abysmal. And again, as I said, it starts in the trenches. They need, they need somewhere to start building their team off of. I think it's full rebuild mode as you give up Daniel Jones. You know, maybe this is his last year. Maybe he's not on the Giants anymore after tonight. But no matter what, they're going to have a young QB. And they're going to need to start building a team. So you kind of hope that they go tackle for this pick.
I hope to see the Giants give Daniel Jones one more year because I really don't think this is the year to get a quarterback.
Wow.
Oh, as we see Thibodeau come off the board.
Kayvon Thibodeau comes off the board, and I frankly, I think that's a great pick.
I don't mind it.
As a Ravens fan, I was hoping he would fall past number 5 and they would trade up to number 6 to go grab him. But honestly, that's a great pick. I think, again, this is a guy that was going to go number 1 overall for a long time. There have been some questions kind of about his attitude. I think those are kind of stupid. He's a football player. He's played football his whole life. You're not as good of a player as he is without, if he's got a bad attitude about football, that would have shown way before now. When you get into the league is not the time when he's going to start slacking off, and I truly believe that. So I don't really understand why, people have said it's a bad pick because of his attitude. People say he's not focused. I don't really think that's a criticism at all. He's a great player. He's got unbelievable athleticism and all that. Again, I would have respected a tackle a little bit more here, but Kayvon Thibodeau, as a game changer, he can really turn a franchise around.
Honestly, the way we looked at it through our model and the way both of us looked at this pick with Thibodeau is we looked at him as a little bit better of a version of Trayvon Walker. We just figure we like him a little bit more than Trayvon Walker, although they're both raw. Kind of unpolished pass rushers. And Walker does have a little bit more in the run game. Thibodeau just showed incredible speed, power, and bend off the edge at Oregon over the past 2 years. Or 3 years, excuse me. But he's also a guy who, if he puts a couple more moves in the toolbox, he could be one of the best pass rushers, if not the best pass rusher in the NFL, if he can add a couple more moves to his limited toolbox at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needs to work on, a little bit of a higher of a football IQ. He goes a lot off of his athleticism and just, his overall, he's got a great get-off, as it says. If he gets a better, kind of pass rushing plan, he's able to analyze the offense a little bit better. I think that he can, get to the quarterback a lot easier. But he's really great in all aspects of the game. And I don't, I love the pick, frankly.
He ran 4.85, which is really quick. But I honestly feel like he plays faster than that. If you watch his film, he flies around the field. He's at the ball all the time. And when he's coming off the edge, there are plays, as we just see up here, where he just beats the tackle with speed, which is really tough to do at the college level, at high-level college. To beat someone with pure speed off the edge is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, what he can work on, again, is getting a couple more moves in his repertoire. If he can, get his hands around people, use his hands a little bit more effectively, that would be good. But I mean, he's got great bend, he's got great explosiveness, good balance, good strength. He's got everything besides just a little bit more polish to his game. But I think that that's a good thing in the NFL. He will learn how to polish up his game. So I think it's a great pick. It may take him a year, it may take him 2. But I think he's going to be an all-pro player.
As we get to pick number 6 here, we have Carolina on the clock. And this is where we see the first quarterback coming off the board. We did not mock any trades, and Carolina's the first team that we see that truly needs a quarterback outside of maybe Houston, who has Davis Mills. But there, we didn't expect them to take a QB in this class at 3 because there's no real just diamond in the rough blue chip prospect at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
But here at 6, we have the Carolina Panthers taking Kenny Pickett. We could also see them trading down, but we didn't mock any trades, as I alluded to. But we feel like Kenny Pickett is the Panthers guy here.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And with the question in chat, Mr. Laffey, we'll get to your call in a moment, but I think it's time. I think that we could talk a little bit in a moment, but Josh Bing, I think, would be good to get on the line right now. I think he might have some feelings about this Carolina pick.
Oh, let's hear it.
But pretty soon, we can get Mr. Laffey, in here talking about the Eagles. So I'm gonna give Josh a call for the first call in of the night. I'll put him on speakerphone.
Oh, this would be really sad if it rung through.
It would, but he's been asking for calls. There he is.
Okay, there he is.
Josh Bing.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the broadcast. You're on the hot mic. The Carolina Panthers pick is in. What are you thinking right now?
I'm hoping they take Kenny Pickett. I'm hoping Malik Willis falls to the Steelers at 20, or they may trade up. But I'm hoping they take Kenny Pickett here. I think they will take Kenny Pickett, but we'll see.
I'm going to be honest with you, Josh. Our model really doesn't like Malik Willis.
Malik Willis has fallen out of the first round. Honestly, if we went past the first round, he may fall out of the second round. He was not the superstar pick, but Kenny Pickett was that pick. He's NFL ready. So we think that, I think that Kenny Pickett would be a good pick here. But you don't like the hometown guy going to the Steelers?
Yeah, I just think Malik Willis has a higher upside. And we got Trubisky for this year, so I don't think Malik Willis will start right off the bat.
Easy.
But we'll see.
I actually had a conversation with our inside of school mentor, Mr. Starr, today about Malik Willis. And we were talking about how a lot of models in the draft world really don't like Malik Willis. And one of the things that Mr. Starr brought up that we had been talking about is that Malik Willis really has no ability to throw under pressure. He's one of the worst graded players or in the draft, in draft history, to be projected this high throwing against pressure. I believe the stat Mr. Starr brought up was he had a QBR of 4 against pressure.
Do you trust that guy behind the Steelers' offensive line, Josh?
I think he's a long-term project, and I really just want him to be. I want him to be an option for the Steelers at 20. Even if they pass on him, then I know that they're thought into it, that they don't necessarily want him. But I at least want him to be an option there.
That's fair, and hopefully, if the NFL teams are looking at our model, he will definitely be an option at 20. But also, Malik Willis is another guy. The reason our model really doesn't like him is the rawness of his game and how our model has kind of loved the guys who can produce.
Yeah, so that's why we love Kenny Pickett here. Is he's the most NFL ready, and the reason we mocked him here was because we think the Panthers are a team that don't really want to go into a full rebuild. They want to get a guy that's going to come in and win immediately. So I wouldn't worry too much about Malik Willis going here. We may be very wrong, but it feels like this is the Kenny Pickett's pick, unless they trade out of it. But I think they're ready to go with Kenny Pickett here. Our model liked him. He put up the production. We will hope to see Malik Willis still on the board at 20. We actually have in our mock draft Desmond Ridder going number 19 to the Saints. So we actually have Malik Willis not in the top 2 of our quarterbacks, probably not even in the top 3.
And another thing about Kenny Pickett is JP touched on the idea that we really do buy into the guys who broke out in their last season. Kenny Pickett is one of those guys because he did have his breakout year last year as the Panthers pick comes in. And we might actually hear it off the phone.
I turned down the volume, but we will stay. Josh will stay on the line for this reaction, then we'll let you go. But
then we'll have to bring in Mr. Laffey.
Oh, God.
You saw the pick? Okay, it's announcing it right now. The Panthers select Ekwonu.
That is great to see.
And, I think, Josh, what are your immediate reactions to that pick? Immediately, I think that's a great pick. He was our first tackle, and he's the first tackle off the board.
Honestly, I think this is a really nice pick.
Josh, what do you have to say about this pick?
So I'm excited. I mean, he was definitely not – there was no chance of him falling to the Steelers. I really like him as a prospect, and he's a great offensive tackle. But I just like the Steelers' options staying open. Having Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis there will be even better. I trust the Steelers organization with all their decisions. They've been great. They know what they're doing. And I know that you guys talk about Malik Willis being more of a raw talent, maybe. But I know that the Steelers organization can whip him into shape and make him something special.
All right. Well, thank you for the call in, Josh. We can get you on the line a little bit later for the Steelers pick. But yeah, we'll let you go and keep on talking in the chat. Thank you, Josh.
All right. Thank you, guys. Great broadcast.
All right. So with the pick, Ike Ekwonu going to the Panthers. Again, we didn't predict this. We didn't think they were going to go line. We thought they were going to go a guy that's going to kind of be a superstar, a superstar playmaker right off the bat. But I think that this is a great pick.
We also do love to see our first lineman in the class coming off the board as the first lineman.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure we did get some insider information that the Panthers were looking at our model, to make this pick. But, I like this pick a lot. Again, he's going to come in, and I think that, again, the trenches is where you win games, and I think he's going to be just a good winner for them. You see a highlight right there of him blocking Jermaine Johnson easily. Jermaine Johnson may be a top 10 pick in this draft, and Ike Ekwonu is just, tearing him down. So he's really a great player.
I mean, as you'll see on the screen here with his film coming up, his film might be the most exciting film of any lineman in college football to watch. He just lays guys out. Like, every single time you see him blocking downfield, he's laying someone out without fail. It's really fun to watch as just a fan, him blocking in the run game in space, because no one wants to see this guy run blocking in space.
And let me tell you something. Again, the one thing that we like a lot in our model is speed. And Ike Ekwonu ran a 4.93 40-yard dash. That's pretty unbelievable for a guy of his size.
Look at this guy.
I mean, I believe he's 6'4", 328, running a sub-5-second 40-yard dash.
I believe he did drop down before the combine, slimmed down a little bit. I think he's listed at 310 right now, which is pretty impressive that he dropped that weight right before the combine. And that might lead to be a reason why he was able to run so quickly.
Right, but
he's massive.
That makes him
regardless
invaluable in the run game. In the short pass game, if he needs to loop around, as a pulling tackle, he's really he can get outside of just his stance. And any run heavy team is gonna love him. I think that maybe the Panthers trying to build their identity with Ike Ekwonu, and I just think that's a great pick overall.
Honestly, the way I see it, he could be... I don't think they'll transition him to guard because he's been so successful at the tackle position. But at guard, he reminds me of a Quentin Nelson type of mauler. Because he was able to... He played some guard at NC State. And not last year, but the year before. But when he was at guard, he looked so dominant in the run game.
Yeah, absolutely. What he needs to work on is in the passing game. The Panthers without a surefire quarterback right now, they kind of have that ability, to take some time to teach him, all of the things he needs to learn about his pass sets. And I think by the time they get, going with a quarterback, I think he's going to be locked in. He's going to be a great offensive tackle.
As we have the Giants pick is in at number 7, I would really not be surprised to see Charles Cross here. As we mocked him at number 5 to the Giants and Thibodeau fell to them at number 5, it might not have been a huge fall from what people expected. But we would not be surprised at all to see Cross here to the Giants, considering how poor their line has been.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I think that would be, to start off the draft with Kayvon Thibodeau and Charles Cross.
That would be awesome.
Those are number 4.
Or Evan Neal.
Or Evan Neal. But Thibodeau and Cross are number 4 and number 5 guys. I think that would be an unbelievable start to this draft. And I think maybe they went Thibodeau first because they knew that he's a one of a kind type of guy. And now they go tackle here because there's multiple of them in the draft.
Gosh.
Yeah, sorry for my voice.
As we see Evan Neal come off the board from Bama. This is not. We're still very happy with this pick from the Giants. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Evan Neal over Cross. We did mock Cross as the second tackle coming off and Neal as the third, but Neal has also proven to be a dominant tackle over the past year at Bama. And there is nothing wrong with this pick.
I mean, he's a big guy. He's, I think, 6'8", which is pretty unbelievable. So, he's a guy, he's going to be an anchor on the offensive line. What he struggles with sometimes is almost controlling his body. Again, at 6'8", 345, that's so much body to control. It's almost impossible to do that. He does very well. And I think that's something that can be taught. He can use his body a little bit better. That's why we had him at number 3 tackle. But overall, again, with the first 3 tackles in this draft, you can't go wrong with any of them. They're all just unbelievable players.
I believe he did not run the 40 this year at the Combine, which was mostly a result of the fact that people believed he was going to run in the 5'4", 5'5" range. And he didn't really want to run and show a 5'5", scare off some potential teams, whereas he's shown on film that he can still dominate at his speed, as we see here.
Right.
Him
I mean,
showing
the first two the first two words that they had about Evan Neal is massive and anchor, and that's exactly what he is. He's not a super athletic guy, but he is just so big, so strong that it's impossible to get around him.
And he does work quite quickly for a guy who ran a 5'6" coming out of high school and is not projected to run much faster nowadays. He moves pretty quickly off the ball and does a good job of being light on his feet in pass sets. So he's not as slow as you might think in the short game, which is pretty important at the lineman position. As we have the Falcons coming up at number 8, I'm really interested to see what they do here. This is the first one. I could very well see Cross here.
You could see Cross, honestly. We predicted Trayvon Walker. I could see this being Malik Willis, to be honest. I think, they want a quarterback. Malik Willis, for some reason, he just makes sense to me in Atlanta. Again, I don't think it's the right pick. We think Kenny Pickett is the guy that's going to go in there and produce. But my prediction for what this pick could be, if they want to go quarterback, I think they're going Malik Willis.
I think I would not be surprised to see Malik Willis here in terms of just what might actually happen. Obviously, we talked about how our mock draft favors those who produce, and that was not really Malik Willis, as he showed kind of one of the lower QBRs, lower passer ratings of the guys who are graded to be first round or second round prospects. And if they take a quarterback, we would probably favor Kenny Pickett, but we could definitely see Malik Willis here because he's a more raw prospect and he'll have the time to develop in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to the Giants pick, I think that, again, starting this draft off with Kayvon Thibodeau, as we see the pick is in, starting this draft off with Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal is pretty unbelievable. I mean, they have the 5 and 7 picks. You knew that they were probably going to start well. But to me, that's a great draft so far. It's getting a guy on both sides of the ball that's going to come in and be a difference maker.
I mean, the fact that Neal fell to 7, I know there was a lot of people who thought Neal would be the first off the board. If people were worried about Neal even getting to 5 for the Giants, and the fact that they got their guy at 7 on the line is pretty impressive, along with getting an incredible, explosive athlete in Thibodeau. And I also could see the Falcons going wide receiver here because as we've seen, Calvin Ridley's not looking like he's going to play. I believe he's suspended for the entire 2022 NFL season. So with that, and Julio having been traded in the past, not this year, but last year, the Falcons wide receiver core is pretty slim. So I could definitely see them going Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson, one of those top-end wide receivers. We might see a Drake London here, but our model's probably saying if you go receiver, you go Jameson Williams.
Let's see what they do here. Again, I don't think that I think they should go quarterback at some point.
Oh, we see Drake London.
Wow, Drake London, the first receiver off the board. Let me tell you, Drake London is a great player, and we'll talk about him in a moment. But that's just a surprising pick no matter what. I don't think anybody projected Drake London to go that high.
I was talking to Jonathan Bing last night after we released our mock draft, and I will say he was projecting Drake London to be the first receiver off the board. And in our mock draft, we had Drake London, at 22, because of the model not loving his speed and combine performance. But this was actually the only guy in our model who I said I kind of disagree with our model a little bit, because I've watched this guy's highlights. I watched this guy throughout the season, and despite his not game-breaking speed, where he's probably not going to beat you down the field with a 9 route, he gets a lot of separation, and he reminds me of like a guy out of the slot who can do a lot of things for you, make a lot of contested catches. He'll make play, like his catch radius is unbelievable. He makes a lot of plays on jump balls and tough catches that a lot of guys would not be able to make.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like he has such a polished, all-around perfect game. I know a lot of Packers fans wanted, them to trade up into, an early round and get Drake London because he is polished. He seems like he's ready to go in the NFL. He seems like he can come in and produce from day one. Like Campbell said, he's probably not going to beat you down, straight downfield, but he's going to go up. He's going to get the ball, on crossing routes across the middle. He's going to, catch almost every ball that goes his way. I think he is a really unbelievable player. And I think there's a fine pick. Again, I don't know if I would have gone receiver over, some more of either an offensive line pick or a quarterback pick. But I think that he's going to be producing for the Falcons for a long time. A team that's had a lot of success picking wide receivers. They picked Julio Jones. They picked Calvin Ridley. There's a team that likes to have a good wide receiver room at all times, no matter who their quarterback is, even if they stick with Marcus Mariota. He did used to play basketball, so that shows you that he can get up. He has he's a big guy, and he has a massive vertical.
A lot of these guys in this receiver class do have basketball backgrounds, and that's the thing we're finding a lot of times with these elite college receivers and tight ends, and even into the NFL, is they have basketball backgrounds. They're able to go up and get balls with ease because of their verticals, and that is one of the things that we're finding nowadays with these NFL receivers and tight ends.
Absolutely. So just a heads up, we'll wait until the Seattle Seahawks pick, but right after the Seahawks pick, we will do a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss the pick, and the Jets have a pick after that. So just be ready for that. We'll go on a break right after we react to that pick. I definitely need a rest on my vocal
JP
cords.
needs a little bit of a water break.
Absolutely.
Ice up the vocal cords.
They're struggling. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I thought I could get a hold of them. It's not necessarily happening, but we're here for the night. There's no turning back now, so I'll be here, and my voice may cut out here and there. But I'm ready to go. I'm excited.
JP's gonna fight through it tonight.
I will fight through it. I feel like it's my draft interview. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be here, and I'll fight through all of the pain. It's not actually painful. I just can't really talk.
So with the Seattle pick here, obviously Seattle needs a quarterback. They could go like a Kenny Pickett, a Malik Willis. We have them mock taking Evan Neal, so we wouldn't be surprised to see them take Charles Cross because of their need at the tackle position. But definitely a quarterback here could be in the works. The first quarterback off the board is still yet to happen. Having two quarterbacks in the first round is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I believe the betting odds for that was over under 3.5. So whether it was gonna be 3 or 4, I think absolutely. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would have slammed the under on that pick because I don't think that there's enough teams in this draft that are gonna look at this quarterback class and decide quarterback. And I agree. I think the Seahawks will not be one of those teams. I would be surprised at a quarterback here. I would understand the pick, but frankly, again, I think they go to the trenches. Charles Cross is sitting there as an unbelievable player. Who's going to win a lot of reps. So I think they should go Charles Cross. I don't really see another position of need to them that's more glaring than quarterback or tackle, and I just don't think this is their year for the quarterback.
I will say, as a Broncos fan over the past few years, I cannot get behind the Seahawks starting Drew Lock in this upcoming year, so I would not mind a quarterback pick for them at all. Watching Drew Lock, we kind of talked about it a little when we brought up Jerry Jeudy as a comparison for some of the Ohio State receivers, particularly Chris Olave and his smooth route running when we talked about it on our mock. Watching Jerry Jeudy over the past few years get open time after time, and Drew Lock miss him time after time was pretty miserable as a Broncos fan. And so I'm hoping to see. I would not be too upset if I were Seattle, if I got a QB here. I'm hoping to see Kenny Pickett here, honestly.
I mean, I understand that pick. To me, again, this is another team that doesn't want to embrace the rebuild. They want to go back to winning. So Kenny Pickett does make sense as a guy that's going to come in and he's going to play well early on. To me, I think that you got to go, I agree you can't stick with Drew Lock. I am not a Drew Lock believer either. He seems like he had one good game against the Texans in his rookie year, and that was about it.
Yep.
But I think there's a team that should go after a Baker Mayfield. I'm actually a Baker Mayfield supporter, believe it or not.
Ooh.
I think that he has still a lot of potential in this league to be a very good player. So I think there's a team, you take a chance on Baker Mayfield. It's a good organization. They can hopefully turn him around. If he doesn't work out, then you fully embrace the rebuild. But I don't know. For some reason, I just don't see them taking Kenny Pickett here, or any quarterback. But it definitely could happen.
I think you also you can't be upset with Charles Cross here at all.
Not at all.
Because he is probably he very well could have been our number one rated tackle just because of how light and agile he is in his pass sets. He's so quick as a big man at 310 pounds. He's so quick and able to get into his pass set and just stonewall edge rushers with relative ease at the college level, at the SEC level, which is really impressive.
I mean, he's another guy that ran a sub-5 second 40-yard dash at over 300 pounds. His game is very polished. There isn't a whole lot that you can say is necessarily a hole in his game. We've loved Charles Cross since the beginning. He's got, he's quick and he's strong and he's got a great frame. I think that this would be a wonderful pick. Again, I've said it many times, but you win the games in the trenches, and this is where, the Seahawks have had a bad offensive line for a long, long time. I think Roger Goodell will be walking out shortly. But the Seahawks have had a bad offensive line for a long, long time, and this is the kind of guy that could turn that around for your franchise.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite a mauler like Icky is, but he's a guy who's just going to give you consistency at the tackle position, and he really, as JP said, has no weaknesses in his game, as we see Charles Cross come off the board here. Right as we're about to go to break.
Yeah, so again, we talked about him a little bit. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we come back. We'll be there for the Jets pick. So we're going to go to break right now. But yeah, stick around. It'll be very quick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Jets having just selected Garrett Wilson. That immediate thoughts. We had him picked number 11 to the Commanders. Jameson Williams being our number one receiver off the board to the Jets. But frankly, that's a pretty good pick. I mean, we're happy with that. The only thing that we like Jameson Williams more than Garrett Wilson, our model again likes that kind of speed. So, understandable, why we like Jameson Williams more because he's very quick. But Garrett Wilson is absolutely a great player in his own right.
Garrett Wilson is a guy who's really just going to make a lot of plays with the ball in his hands. He does a really good job once he has the ball in his hands of beating defenders with both speed and quickness. He has really good agility, and I believe he's a 4.38 guy, so definitely good enough to be a top-end speed guy in the NFL. As we see, the Sixers seem to have a commanding lead over the Raptors. So unfortunately, it looks as if the Sixers will not be blowing their 3-0 lead.
We see in the comments, Kieran says he wants to call in. We're going to give Mr. Laffey the call first, just because he wanted to call earlier. So we're going to give Mr. Laffey a call. And then, Kieran, you could definitely call in. But we'll get his takes on the 76ers game as well. All right, Mr. Laffey on the line.
I'm sure we're going to hear about...
And while we're ringing, just so you know, tea is on the way. My voice... Oh, Mr. Laffey, how are you?
Oh, God.
Hi, Mr. Laffey.
Bobby.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
We're looking to hear your thoughts on both the Sixers game and the pick of
he's in a good
Garrett
mood.
Wilson.
Is that what? I'm not even. I'm locked into this Sixers absolute
They're gonna-
blowout.
they're
right
gonna
now.
win.
Yeah,
Why-
it's looking like 25 points. You guys are looking fine.
He knows if he turns it off.
That's very fair.
27 now.
All right,
Yeah, I can't turn it off. We've got 6.5 minutes.
You know
There's
they'll
no
start
way you're
losing.
blowing
He
it
just
at this
traded
point.
another step back jumper. He's the best player.
Saints just traded into the number 11 pick.
So Saints moved up. Mr. Laffey, what are you thinking? I mean, the Eagles are sitting there with the 15th and the 18th pick. What do you want in those positions?
Yeah, good question. There was part of me that was originally hoping they would kind of package those and move up and go get a guy. But it doesn't appear that's going to happen. So I'm hoping maybe a playmaker on each side of the ball. Two picks inside the top 20 is a luxury, right? So their wide receivers are never any good. So maybe we go wide receiver and DB.
What about quarterback?
I don't know.
We had the Eagles mocked with Devin Lloyd at 15, who we both love. He's a inside linebacker, and JP could talk about him a little bit.
Talk about a playmaker, Mr. Laffey. Devin Lloyd just racks up stats all across the board. I mean, he's a run stopper. There's a couple questions about his speed, but really he can play anywhere on the field, and he's always getting to the ball. I think if Devin Lloyd goes 15 to the Eagles, that's a guy you're going to want.
He reminds me a lot of Fred Warner. He just really doesn't have many holes in his game. He's the one question mark people had about him was his tackling, and he still had. It wasn't really even a question mark. It was only they only brought up tackling because they couldn't come up with anything else, and he missed like 9 tackles last season. And made I believe it was like 85 to 90 tackles last year. If you watched, I didn't watch many Utah games, but our model really loved him. So going back, I watched some of his highlights, and he's just such a fun guy to watch. He gets downhill really quickly. He's a really intelligent guy when it comes to run fits and identifying where the ball's going, and he just always seems to be at the football.
The Eagles are notorious for blowing off the linebacker position. It's been years and years and years since they've drafted a linebacker. So I know Sports Talk Radio in Philly is all over the linebacker position. I'm not sure our GM is on the same page as we as the fan base, who
What's new?
by wide consensus is the smartest fan base in the country.
Right.
Oh, God.
So I don't know. We need playmakers at that level of the defense. So I'm for that. I like that.
as long as they get guys who are going to come in right away and make an impact and help this team win.
No, sorry for my voice, but I have
my allergies are terrible.
I have received a text. I'm not entirely. I don't have the phone number. It may be Caden Blank, but it does say to tell you that to get a guy in this draft, there needs to be guys. It seems like he doesn't believe in this draft. So, he says, tell Mr. Laffey that this draft would need a guy before the Eagles can package their pick. There's no guys in this draft.
Listen, I need Caden to get a good night's rest.
Caden does have a big game to pitch tomorrow.
So it's time for him to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I love how him and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
Another thing about this class is we have a lot of really good receivers, which I could see the Eagles going out and getting a Jameson Williams or hopefully a Chris Olave. So
we see the Saints might do that.
That could be
we need some weapons for Jalen Hurts, and if we're gonna give him a chance, we need to load him up with some weapons. Oh my gosh, what a dunk by Joel Embiid! We need to surround him with some weapons to see if he's going to be our guy. So, we've whiffed on a handful of first round wide receivers. Devontae Smith seems to be a guy, but we need someone on the other side of him. So I do hope they go wide receiver.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to the utter domination that the 76ers are putting on the court right now. But enjoy the rest of your night. Let us know your thoughts on the Eagles picks when we get there. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, well done, guys. Proud of you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Laffey.
All right.
Well, as we have the Saints acquiring the number 11 overall pick from the Commanders, I believe they gave up their 16th overall pick and then a 3rd and 4th round pick in exchange. So pretty decent package for the Commanders. Who seem to not love anyone at 11, but it's definitely not too much if the Saints have their eye on someone here.
Certainly Josh Bing is already worried in the chat. He's worried that they're going to go up and then steal their pick, but I don't know. I think they may go receiver here. They may.
I think they're going receiver here. I would.
I'd bet Olave.
I would not be surprised with an Olave, who we do have mocked to them at 16.
Olave putting up the production.
Maybe a Jameson Williams.
If they're worried about his injury history, let's see. Goodell is making the pick now, and he seems to have made the pick. Maybe not. I think he's introducing some people. Not entirely sure. Nate Kroll is also in the chat now, so welcome
it's good
in,
to see
Nate.
that. I heard Nate himself, although the Admirals boys tennis team did not get the win at Gilman today, we will be getting the win in the playoffs, don't you worry.
Nate Kroll
got a big win today in his match.
He had himself a day.
Definitely showed up.
Yeah. All right, so now we're waiting for the pick here. We had wide receivers going 10 and 11, to the Commanders instead of to the Saints. Obviously, we didn't predict any trades. But, I think that this is about the time where a lot of wide receivers are going to go off the board. This is a very wide receiver-heavy class. They've been really great in the previous couple of years. We could definitely see a receiver going here. I think the Saints want playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Again, another team that doesn't want to rebuild. Sean Payton's going. Drew Brees has been gone. I don't think that they want to rebuild. That's not going to be something that they're really going into. So I think that they go with some playmakers. I think they may go quarterback in this draft. I think they may take a wide receiver as well to kind of create that pairing for years to come.
I'm definitely leaning wide receiver here. I would love to see Olave here or Jameson Williams. I think they're both really incredible players. I particularly love Olave's route running. I compared him to Jerry Jeudy a little bit earlier. The way he separates from defenders with ease and just makes it look so smooth when he runs routes on the field is really impressive and not a trait you're going to find from a lot of college receivers. And he's probably the most polished receiver in this class.
Yeah, something we talked about in our mock draft is if Chris Olave does go to the Saints, we think that creates one of the most reliable receiver cores when healthy. between Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, they're guys that are going to catch the ball. They're going to get open all the time. They're going to have so many receptions. What Chris Olave lacks is a little bit of elusiveness once he gets the ball in his hand. He may not break free for that, break a couple tackles, break a couple ankles, and break free for that, really long touchdown. But as we see the selection here, I think Chris Olave would be a very reliable pick.
As it is coming in, and it is Chris Olave. That's really solid pick.
Right,
there.
and we didn't predict him going 11, but we did predict him to the Saints. So honestly, we're pretty proud of that one.
Pretty happy with that.
I think that's definitely a very solid pick.
Another thing that we have to talk about with him is his underrated athleticism, because he is a guy who his knocks have not been with his polish, but instead his knocks have been with his ability to separate after the catch and win straight down the field with his pure speed. And he's a 4.39 guy. He does have route running polish, which is incredible. But he's also a speed, he's got a lot more speed than people give him credit for. And he can still separate down the field on go routes, on post routes, on deep corners. He definitely has the speed to excel as a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I think, again, if they're going to go young with quarterback or even with Jameis Winston, again, this is the guy. You want a reliable receiver that's going to go in there. He's got pretty good ball skills, pretty good body control. But like Campbell said, the number one thing for him is the route running. He's one of the guys that we decided is similar to Jerry Jeudy. He's just gonna. I feel like he's gonna get open all the time. He's gonna create that separation. So definitely, I think that's a good pick. As it says, silky smooth. He needs to acquire some strength, a little bit of elusiveness. But he can grab the ball wherever it is, and he'll always be getting open. Gavin Wicker.
We have an update from Gavin Wicker on the trade info between the Commanders and the Saints, and we're gonna have there's another trade coming in with the Lions trading up with the Vikings for pick number 12. So Gavin is gonna come in and let us know what's going on.
So for the Saints and the Commanders, the Saints got the 11th pick. They gave Washington their 16th in the first round, their third rounder, which is pick 98, and their fourth rounder, which is pick 120. And the Lions, let me try and find it if I can quickly. I don't think they've officially released the details on that.
Okay,
right.
we will have Gavin back
in
a few moments to let us know what this Lions trade consists of.
As we see a tweet on screen from Michael Thomas, who says that he's going to run it with Chris Olave. Again, that's such a reliable receiving core. I think no matter who's playing quarterback, they're going to be getting the ball all the time. So many receptions in that receiving core. But this pick, number 12, originally with the Vikings, we mocked Arnold Ebiketie. Again, someone that was very surprising for most people. We had a lot of comments about Ebiketie jumping up that high. But the model just really loved him. He's a productive guy. I don't know. Detroit will not pick him here because they already have Aiden Hutchinson.
I don't think they're going to edge rushers.
But we can take this moment to talk about Ebiketie. He's a really good player out of Penn State. What he does well is kind of everything. He's got good hands, good moves. He lacks a little bit of a strength and explosiveness. But what he is, he's consistent. He doesn't necessarily have the tools yet, but we just liked his consistency. He ran a fast 40-yard dash of 4.65. So we liked him to go early. It just seemed like someone that our model just was liking all the way through. So we mocked him to the Vikings at 12 because if there were no cornerbacks left, we felt like he was going to be someone that can bolster that defense. But really, Campbell, what do you think is going to happen with this number 12 pick to the Lions?
Well, to piggyback on your talk about Ebiketie, I just wanted to talk about how our model, we've talked about it time and time again, our model loves production. And that's what Ebiketie has shown at the college level. He had a really underrated season last year at Penn State with 8 sacks and 12 TFL, which is really impressive in the Big Ten to have a season like that, and it kind of flew under the radar. He is a guy who doesn't have the explosiveness or pure power that a guy like Thibodeau or Trayvon Walker does. And that's one of the reasons he hasn't been mocked quite as high, is because of his lower ceiling. But we also think he has a really high floor. We think that he's shown the ability to use his hands to win when he isn't able to win with speed or power. He's still able to win with speed quite a bit. He is a 4.65 guy. He's got long arms, big hands. He wins with speed pretty easily, and he showed the ability to dominate in the Big Ten. And I believe that shows that he should be able to be a very solid pass rusher at the next level.
And here we see the Lions pick Jamison Williams. So that
Wow,
now
we have three receivers in a row right
three
there.
straight receivers. But, we didn't get the exact order, but we have, our top 3 receivers. Actually, I'm wrong because I just realized Drake London went off very early on. But,
we also had Garrett Wilson in there. So.
Yeah, so we had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jamison Williams all drafted around this area. We had them 10, 11, and 16. They end up going 10, 11, and 12. So, that's something that we can be happy about. Again,
I don't believe Garrett Wilson's off the board yet.
Did Garrett Wilson not go? Garrett Wilson went to the Jets.
Oh, did he?
You're right. He went to the Jets.
I thought. Oh,
Gavin, is that true?
Gavin?
Yeah, he went to the
Oh,
Jets.
he
went to the
Went to
Jets.
the Jets at 10.
At 10. So, we liked Jamison Williams over, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave because of his game-breaking speed. He's going to get open. He had unbelievable tape, and we didn't really think that the injury would play a factor. At this day and age in the NFL, the injury doesn't really make much sense. An ACL doesn't really mean that much, I think. Definitely not something you want to have happen, but an ACL is not, the end of the world for anybody anymore, in my opinion. So, yeah, I definitely think that he was a great player. I think this is kind of a steal to have him as the 4th wide receiver off the board. We had him as our number 1 because he just has that kind of speed that's going to break the game wide open. So, for the Lions who need some playmakers, he's a true playmaker.
I think he's just going to be an
Eagles
amazing...
traded with Houston.
Yeah,
There's another
Eagles
trade?
Eagles did just trade up
gosh.
to 13.
Oh, Mr. Laffey's going to be happy about that. It seems as if the Eagles have a guy they want to go up and get. But touching on Jamison Williams, he's a guy who's just going to win once he has the ball in his hands. Like, if you get the ball in his hands, he wins with incredible speed and quickness, and he just separates with ease after the catch. And he's also able to get downfield and break down defenses with deep posts, deep, even just streaks. He'll burn you over the top with a 9 route with ease. And as we see here, he's catching a slant and taking it all the way to the house, which is very impressive.
And he's a guy for his size. Sorry about my voice. He's a guy for his size that is surprisingly physical. He's gonna get down the field. He's very small, but I think that he can break a couple tackles. Surprisingly, he's not just a beat you over the top guy. That's not his only skill. He has good ball control. He has a solid catch radius. But his game breaking speed is really what's gonna lead him to get this high up. And again, he didn't run the 40-yard dash because of his injury. That held him out of a lot of the off-season stuff for the draft. So that maybe is the reason why he fell to 12. But I think without the injury, he may have been the first receiver off the board. He's just really that explosive.
I think he's also a guy who, if he were to run the 40-yard dash, he'd run right around 4.3, which is just incredible. He's got game-breaking speed, and there's just no other way to put it. As the Eagles pick is in at 13, as we've seen a plethora of trades recently in this past couple of picks, we did not mock trades because we didn't want to worry. That's not what our modeling took into account, the team needs and trades. We were more focused on value, as we did make sure to alter the picks based on what teams needed, but we didn't focus on trades because that wasn't the bulk of our project.
And we see Kieran in the comments says that our darling Devin Lloyd is still on the board. Again, we had him mocked to the Eagles at 15. And maybe they're topping up. Maybe they think that Baltimore may take
I have
Baltimore-
heard some Devin Lloyd to Baltimore rumors. I know Kieran was looking for a Devin Lloyd to Baltimore. I'm really hoping not to see Trevor Penning to Baltimore for Kieran's sake. I know Trevor Penning, we have him projected to the Chargers. We like him a lot, but Kieran does not.
We'll get him on the horn.
He's
when
not
he gets
buying
drafted.
into the Northern Iowa hype.
Yeah. So this could absolutely be Devin Lloyd if the Eagles are scared of the Ravens, taking that pick. But we'll definitely see. I think, as Mr. Laffey said, it seems like the biggest wide receiver playmakers are off the board. I don't think they're going to go receiver here.
Although they still do have Jahan Dotson, who we have him going at 21 to the Pats. We really did. The model loved this guy. He is a very solid receiver out of Penn State. We'll get to him a little later. Hopefully he gets picked in the first round. We could also see Traylon Burks come off the board in the first round.
Right.
And don't you forget about Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton, he may come off the board here, but I think we're gonna have a little bit of rest after 3 straight wide receivers. I think we're gonna have a little bit of rest on the wide receivers, and they're gonna go, a little bit later on in the draft, maybe in the 20s. But I think it's interesting seeing so many trades at this point. We heard a lot about how everybody in the top 10 basically wanted to trade out of the top 10, and we didn't see any picks because this draft is a bunch of question marks. There's not that guaranteed guy. But I think it's interesting now seeing a lot of trades. Now is the time when teams are starting to go up. Now that the draft is going to play out a little bit, teams are starting to jump up and they're starting to figure out who they want. As the first guys have gone, now they see some of the steals that they want. So really I think it's a good idea to trade up now instead of in the top 10 because I just don't think that teams in the top 10 really wanted to. They didn't really want to give up a whole lot, and it was going to take a lot to get up there for somebody, for somebody that's maybe a question mark.
And I believe we have Gavin here again, our trade expert on the evening, who has the information on the Eagles trade and what they gave away to get the 13th pick from the Texans.
Take it away, Gavin.
So going back a few, the Vikings traded the Lions their 12th, and then pick number 46. For the Lions, 32nd, 34th, and 66th.
Ooh, wow.
Pick.
So it does not look like the Lions will be grabbing our one of our big heroes in the draft, Leo Chenal.
And then Philadelphia gave to Houston the 15th, 124th, 162nd, and 166th for the pick right now.
Interesting. So some later round draft picks, but they're still giving up 4 draft picks to move up 2 spots. So this is a guy that they definitely like here. Baxter asked if Jordan Davis is still on the board. He is on the board. This would be a surprising pick to me if they go for Jordan Davis, but you could see it happening. Again, the Ravens have been mocked to take Jordan Davis many, many times. He seems like a safe pick for the Ravens at number 14. So maybe they want to jump that and go up and get Jordan Davis. As a Ravens fan, I would not mind, if they take Jordan Davis because I'm not the biggest Jordan Davis supporter. He's not in our top 32 because we don't think that he projected well enough to jump up there. But I could definitely see this pick being Jordan Davis. I'm just not sure if I necessarily agree with it.
I don't think we will see it here at 13, but a guy we have projected at number 13 to the Texans is Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia, one of the counterparts to Jordan Davis on that Georgia vaunted defensive line. And he's a guy who's just got an incredible get-off, and he showed the ability to be on the field a lot more than Jordan Davis did last year, as Jordan Davis really only was a 1 or 2 down player. This guy, Wyatt, was able to be on the field for 3 downs quite often. He showed incredible speed at 300 pounds, running a 4.77, which is only just a tad under what Hutchinson ran. And this guy's an interior defensive lineman. He's got great explosiveness. If he gets inside on on a guard, he can drive them back and put them on the ground. And as we see the Eagles coming in with their pick, I would not be upset if I were the Eagles taking Wyatt here, but I do believe it will probably be an inside. I would not be surprised by Devin Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd, I think, would be a great pick. Jordan Davis, to me, we'll touch on him a little bit later, but he just doesn't do all that much. He can't really stay on the field that much, as we said. and he doesn't have a lot of moves in his game. He just kind of has his bull rush, which he's good at because he's that strong. Let me see the Las Vegas student athletes coming on the screen with Roger Goodell as he announces this pick. But yeah, I think this could be Jordan Davis, and I just wouldn't like the pick, and we'll talk about it when we see who's drafted here.
Also, I want to touch on the fact that Kyle Hamilton has still yet to get picked, which is looking good for our model because we have Kyle Hamilton taking a deep fall deep into the first round, and he is still yet to come off the board. As I say that, it'll probably be Kyle Hamilton.
It probably will be, which would frankly not be
frankly
the worst pick
wouldn't
in the world.
be the worst pick, and it also wouldn't be too bad for our model.
And they
it
go
is
with
Jordan Davis.
Okay, well, this is perfect because I'd love to touch on Jordan Davis. We're not Jordan Davis believers. Again, what we value is, speed. I will say he had unbelievable speed for his size, but, I think that his production just wasn't there. Again, he's so strong. He's so big. I understand why, they want a guy like Jordan Davis. He really is. He's 6'6", 341. That is unbelievable to see. But he doesn't have any moves. He can't really, he can't stay on the field. He has his bull rush, and that's about all. It works well, but when there's guys just as big as him on the offensive line, he may not be able to work that as much as he can in college. So I believe that this pick is fine. I understand why they pick him, but I don't really see his upside, to be honest with you.
I think he can be a very solid defensive tackle in the NFL, maybe a Vince Wilfork type, where he's just going to anchor for you. He's not going to get moved. No one is moving this guy, but I just don't see him being a dominating presence, pass rushing. I can't see him blowing through linemen with finesse moves. He has a very strong base. He doesn't get moved, and he's able to make plays using power, but he doesn't really show anything outside of his bull rush. And he's just going to be a solid nose tackle. He's not going to get run through. We have TJ
so we're gonna get
looking
TJ
to call
Straub.
in
We're gonna get
and talk
TJ
about
Straub.
the Eagles pick.
Yeah, he's our Eagles fan. Mr. Laffey is disappointed that they didn't get a wide receiver, but we'll call TJ Straub right now, see what he thinks about this pick. TJ, how are you?
Hello?
How are you, TJ?
I'm doing pretty good, JP.
All right, you're live right now. What do you think about this Jordan Davis pick, about trading up to go get him before the Ravens?
Now, I think I like the pick. I think he's potentially be a great inside run stuffer. I mean, clearly they were scared the Ravens were going to get him.
Yeah,
Clearly.
for sure.
Jumping up ahead of him. And I like the pick, and I'm very happy with it. I'm glad we didn't pick Jameson Williams. I think a receiver was an overrated need. I'm very happy with the Jordan Davis pick.
Yeah, Mr. Laffey did want a receiver. He wants a playmaker on both sides of the ball, but he did want a receiver here, and I agree with you. I think that they need some defense. I think Jordan Davis is a fine pick. We don't love him. Our model doesn't love him. His lack of moves, but it's a pick that's got some upside. And yeah, I mean, I like that you like that pick.
I'm not
very
so
excited to see how he plays.
I feel like he will be he does not have the traits to where he's going to be a bad player in the NFL. He just simply won't be bad because he's got such good speed and power, such a rare combination. He's going to be a good player. I just don't think his ceiling is incredibly high because he lacks the ability to stay on the field for more than 1 or 2 downs on a particular series, and he lacks the ability to show more than just the bull rush move.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think there's no doubt he plugs up the middle well, but it's a question of can he be a high-impact player, not just a great player, not just a good player. I think that's the point where maybe his ceiling being not as high could be potentially not great, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
As we have the Ravens pick coming in.
All right, today we'll let you go. Thank you for your reaction. Let us know, if you want to come back on for the next Eagles pick. We'll see what happens. Or did they trade their pick?
Surely.
No, they did not trade their pick.
All right, yeah, thank you, TJ.
They have it at 19.
18.
All right, they're up at 18. The Ravens
So we
pick
have
is
the
in.
Ravens pick in. I feel like we're going to have a lot of excited viewers
I think so.
for the Ravens pick. Just considering we are from Maryland, we have a lot of Maryland people.
I think we'll give Kieran a call after this pick.
Oh.
Gavin, do you have any insight before this pick happens? Who do you want right here?
Oh, where? Before I would like inside linebacker, always a need. They need offensive line help.
You know a guy at the offensive line?
And they need a pass rusher.
Trevor
first.
Penning.
They still
could
can't rush the
use.
passer.
We mocked George Karlaftis here, who would be a very solid pick for the Ravens. Edge rusher out of Purdue, has shown a very polished game. Once again, our model likes polished players.
Right.
And he has shown a polished game at Purdue. He doesn't have incredible speed and get-off like some of the other guys in this class. But we could very well see him going here at 14 to the Ravens.
I think luckily for the Ravens, they're getting so much back next year.
Right.
Without even a draft, where kind of right now, as a Ravens fan, I feel like a draft is kind of just extra added on.
Get anybody. All right, we're going to give Devin Williams a quick call while the pick comes in, and of course we'll hit up Kieran Collins after the pick. If it's Trevor Penning, it'll make it even more exciting.
I'm really hoping for Trevor Penning.
Devin Williams is hopping on the line right now. Devin, what do we got? Don't spoil the pick. Don't spoil the pick. All right, as you see, the pick is in. First reactions without any spoiling. What do we see? What do you like about this pick?
This is the same. Well, I can't spoil it, right?
All right. He's about it. We're watching it on TV right now. Roger Goodell is talking. Some shocked reaction from Devin, though. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I'm very curious to see what's happening.
I'm not gonna lie. I was.
Wow.
Kyle Hamilton.
I mean, I feel like a lot of Ravens fans can't be upset with that.
I absolutely love this. This is amazing. The Ravens are going to use him amazingly. This is crazy. I did not even expect this. I was thinking we were going to get Jermaine Johnson, but I can spoil it now. We got Kyle Hamilton. That's insane.
The fact that Kyle Hamilton, our mock predicted him late, but the fact that he fell to 14 is very impressive. And I feel like he could definitely be a difference maker in the Ravens secondary.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to use him all over. I think we're going to use him like Jamal Adams. I think we're going to have him in the box. I think we're going to have a safety. He's going to blitz. He's going to do everything for us. I think he's going to be amazing.
What I like about him already, he looks motivated. He looks like frustrated that he fell. He looks frustrated that he fell to pick 14. But that's a standard around Baltimore. Lamar Jackson was frustrated that he fell that far. So, I think he's motivated. He's ready to go win the Super Bowl. So Kyle Hamilton, I agree with you. I think it's a solid pick. Our model didn't love him, and he down the line we may regret this pick. But right now, for him to fall to 14 when he was projected to be maybe top 10, even top 5 at some times,
he was projected in the top 3 in some of the early mocks.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think that's a good pick. All right, Devin. Thank you so much. We're going to give Kieran a call, see what his reaction is. But thank you for your reaction.
Here's my.
Go ahead, Gavin.
Let's hear Gavin's reaction here.
I know it's the Ravens, and they've always had the motto of we're going to pick the best player available no matter what we need.
Right.
Which we've seen over the years. However, I feel their secondary on the defensive side is already their strong suit. They did just get stronger, but there's still a lot of holes in that front seven. That's just not... They can't rush the passer.
That is very fair. What I will say is the Ravens are used to this. They pick J.K. Dobbins. They find out what they're good at, and they get really, really good at it. So let's give Kieran Collins a call, see what he has to say about this pick. Again, a lot of people are going to be interested in this pick as the Ravens. Kieran, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Admirals. Good morning. Love the pick. Love
Good morning,
Good morning. It's not morning yet.
Hey, this pick has woken Kieran up.
Gavin Winker is absolutely asleep on the trade alerts. Hollywood Brown is no longer a Baltimore Raven.
Gavin.
What?
Is this the truth?
How do you miss this? How do you miss this? It's such oversight.
Don't tell me our trade guy has been slacking.
I'm doing
Hollywood Brown for 23 and 100 with the Cardinals.
I can't say I've seen any of that, but I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. Okay, well, with this pick, what do you like about Kyle Hamilton?
We did what?
I like Kyle Hamilton because obviously the Ravens' strategy is always stack the secondary. He's very versatile. You can play him in the box. You can kind of play a sub linebacker role, Jamal Adams, if you wanted to. He's just a playmaker. And last year the Ravens really lack that.
They traded
He's really
him
can just be a spark on defense. I love him. Great guy.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. So
They traded him for
we have
23rd.
confirmed that this is a crazy trade. First reaction of the trade. I don't
This
actually
is
love it.
insane.
I can't say that I like the fact that we traded our receiver for a 23rd overall pick. But Kieran, what do you think about the trade?
I like the guy, but we didn't have to get rid of him.
I actually might be in the minority. I really like it. I think holding on to Hollywood, you would have to pay him next year, and he's going to demand a lot more money than he deserves. I don't think he's that good. They could take a receiver at 23. Maybe that just means they really trust Bateman. I don't know.
I
It
think
depends
they
what
have
do
to
at
take a wide
23,
receiver
but-
at 23.
I think they do too.
I
mean,
would
go ahead,
love
Campbell.
to see Dotson at 23 if he falls there. I would assume he might. He's got to get past the Pats, but I would love to see Dotson at 23. We could also see Treylon Burks at 23. I was talking once again with our fellows mentor earlier today about how a lot of the wide receivers in this draft class have basketball backgrounds, and Treylon Burks is a guy who has that basketball background, as we see the
Wow.
Texans taking
Kenyon
Kenyon
Green.
Green out of A&M.
All right, Kieran, we're going to let you go as we continue to discuss this, but thank you for joining us. We can get you on the line in a moment here, down the line, maybe for the 23rd overall pick. Thank you, Kieran.
Go Admirals.
Wow, there's a lot to cover right now. Kyle Hamilton to the Ravens. Ravens trade Hollywood Brown and their 100th overall pick for the 23rd overall pick. We'll discuss those reactions in just a moment.
We've had a pretty wild draft night so far.
Yeah, the pick-
so many
I thought we
trades
were just
coming
gonna
in.
Picks-
pick a guy and I could do
Picks
that.
10 to 15 have been electric so far. Now, Kenyon Green, we'll discuss him shortly. Kenyon Green, we had going number 24 to the Cowboys, and even then we were thinking that might be a little bit high for where he might actually go. So actually, we're pretty confident in this pick. He was our number one guard. So he's a great player. We'll discuss who he is a little bit more. I mean, he's flexible. He's strong. He's 6'4", 325. So he's a big guy. Surprised to see. A lot of people may be surprised to see this pick. Texans fans may be angry at this pick, but frankly, I think it's a good pick. Again, he's our number one rated guard in this draft.
I'm happy to see this pick because this is a guy who our model loved because of his size and ability to. He's not the best in terms of athleticism, but he did a good job in the run game at Texas A&M. He was a very good pass blocker as a guard, and I'm surprised. I am surprised to see him getting drafted this high. But it's nice to see our first guard coming off the board as the first guard.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So some reactions to the trade here. Now, I will say it makes sense. I like what Kieran said. It makes sense. Those wide receivers coming off their rookie deals, their price is soaring. And Hollywood did have a great year last year, but I don't think you have Lamar's contract coming up. I don't think that Hollywood was going to be the guy that we wanted to give a ton of money to, and he would demand it. My one worry is that Hollywood and Lamar are best friends. They love each other. And so trading him away, you're a little bit worried, with Lamar having not signed a contract yet. I'm sure he still will sign a contract with the Ravens. I'm not too worried about that. But, it makes you think. It's a little bit worrisome knowing that we just traded away Lamar Jackson's favorite player.
I will say I feel like Jahan Dotson could be a very solid replacement for Hollywood Brown. He's a 4-4 guy. He's really quick in the slot, and when the ball's in his hands, he makes defenders miss, which reminds me a lot of the traits that Hollywood Brown has. And I feel like he could be a good replacement, if they can figure out the chemistry in terms of whether or not Lamar is going to be pleased with this trade, which
No.
I assume he won't be.
A couple things I will say. Number one, Devin, thank you for liking the mug. I'm trying to work on my voice here. It's going pretty well.
I will say the
Dare
tea
I
has
say
helped.
the tea has helped. I'm able to talk a little bit better. Dare I say, with this pick at 23, could we go Tyquan Thornton? You never know.
You never know.
He
He's
is
a speed guy as well.
He is a speed guy. Ravens like to pick those speed guys. We'll touch on Tyquan Thornton when we get the chance. But also Nate Kroll did make a great point that the Ravens are sandwiched right behind the Green Bay Packers, who will be looking for a wide receiver.
I'm thinking Treylon Burks to the Packers.
I agree. I think that's a
the
good
best
fit.
spot for him. I feel like Aaron Rodgers needs another target with Davante Adams gone. It's a really sad sight for the Packers to see Adams leaving, because his connection with Rodgers is just something magical. It's been beautiful to watch over this past years. As just a general fan of football, watching their connection has been really fun. And I feel like the Packers have to go get a first round wide receiver, because Rodgers already can't be pleased with the loss of Adams. And without another weapon, the Packers offense might not look quite the same as it has in the past few years.
Now, what I will say, I feel like after Traylon Burks, we like Jahan Dotson. Our model loved Jahan Dotson. He put up good production. He's a fast guy. But after Traylon Burks, the general consensus is that the wide receiver class does fall off. So you worry, with that 23rd pick, is that is that going to be a wide receiver, who we may be reaching on value there. Frankly, we have Tyler Linderbaum at 23. I think that would be a great pick for the Ravens, who are looking for offensive line help. He's going to be probably the best offensive lineman, most productive year one offensive lineman in this draft, because he's so polished. You just don't pick an interior lineman that quickly. But I will say that this trade, as it's sunk in, I'm starting to like it a little bit less, just because we're putting a lot of trust into Rashad Bateman. And while I do love Rashad Bateman, he didn't show enough for me to put him as our number one wide receiver right now. So a little bit worried. We trade away Miles Boykin, or I think we released Miles Boykin.
He sucked.
He didn't play that well, but the options are kind of thin here for the Ravens. And so if this means they have to go wide receiver at 23, I'll say it. I'm kind of tired of the Ravens picking wide receiver in the first round. They've picked so many, and not many have worked out. So I don't love this trade. I think more and more about it, but I do agree that you had to get Hollywood off the books before he demanded too much money in this wide receiver draft class.
Eric DeCosta, this better work out for you. Or
Gavin Wager does not seem to like
sideline trade reporter, who did seem to lack on this trade, unfortunately, is not feeling good about this trade. I will say that. I myself, as we see Jahan Dotson off the board.
Dotson comes off
wow,
the board.
This is great to see for the model.
Yeah, the model loved this guy. I mean, he can go up and he can get the ball basically anywhere around him. We love to see that, because that was a questionable pick. He was maybe going to go in the late first round. To see him pick this high, even higher than we projected, we love to see that. I
don't even think he wasn't even projected a late first rounder. He was projected like second or third.
Yeah, I will say this is one that got to be one of my favorite picks, because the model liked him so much, and because he's going to go this high. He really, you can see it in the highlight tape. He really goes and gets every ball. He's just got such an unbelievable catch radius. I like this pick a whole lot.
I will say I love this pick. As I've kind of fallen in love with this guy because of his ability after the catch. After we figured out that our model loved this guy, although I am impressed that he's going this high.
Absolutely,
even because we threw him at 21 to the Patriots, and that was a bit high for him. We were not expecting him to go that high.
We have a blockbuster trade call from Gavin Wicker.
Goodness.
What's going on? This is an electric
Our
draft.
Trade,
what do we have?
This is crazy.
A.J. Brown to the Eagles.
AJ
Whoa!
Brown
Oh my
to the
goodness!
Eagles.
This is crazy.
Oh my goodness! It's become electric here.
This has become middle part of the
For
draft.
the 18th pick.
18th
The
overall
Eagles
pick.
Next.
AJ Brown
straight
for the
up?
18th pick.
AJ Brown straight up for the 18th
TJ
pick.
Straub in disbelief right now.
Oh my!
So much electricity.
We
We
have
don't
to
even know.
get
We don't know who to
and a
focus
third.
on.
Oh, I feel like we have to get TJ.
TJ Straub getting back on the horn right now because this is so electric. He says he's in disbelief. I understand it. This is crazy.
Once again, I want to point out Dotson was a round 2 graded prospect. Our
All right,
model
we
had
see
him
we see
round
the
1.
Chargers.
This is crazy.
All right, this is electric right now. We see the Chargers pick coming in right now. But TJ, what do you think about this blockbuster trade? AJ Brown for the 18th pick.
Zion Johnson, another guard.
I can't help but be excited. I mean, AJ Brown is a dynamic talent. He's a top 15, top 10 receiver. Now the only problem is he might only be an Eagle for 2 years, maybe one. I mean, either that or they have to pay him an extremely large amount of money.
They're gonna pay him a lot of money.
That is the truth. I think honestly, it's a good trade. They wanted to go out and get a superstar player. The wide receivers are starting to dry up in the draft, and I think you go out and you get AJ Brown. And this is now the second receiver that we've seen where a team does not want to pay their receiver, so they trade him away. That's really interesting.
I also don't think they gave up too much. If they giving up a first round and a third round pick, their base. That's all they gave. According to our trade analyst Gavin, we have them giving up the 18th pick and their third round pick from this year to get AJ Brown, who is a dynamic player. Honestly, there's no. As Mr. Laffey said, he wanted the Eagles to go get a guy, and they just got a guy.
They got a guy. All right, TJ.
That tweet was a nuke.
Absolutely, it was a crazy tweet. We're glad that Gavin Wicker, got us on the call. TJ, thank you for calling in once again. Again, if anything else crazy happens with the Eagles, we'll get you on the line as soon as possible.
Surely, thank you for having me once again.
All right.
Also, we have to talk about Zion Johnson, as he was the pick from the Chargers. We expected them to go line with Justin Herbert as their quarterback. They need to protect him. He's an elite quarterback in this league, and we expect them to go line and protect him. And they went Zion Johnson, who we don't love. Our model doesn't love him. We predicted Trevor Penning. I also wouldn't have been too surprised to see another tackle, but I'm not thrilled with Zion Johnson for them.
Yeah, I mean he has a little bit of a problem with his awareness. He does not very explosive, but he's big. He's very, very, very large. He's actually pretty fast for his size. He's got good strength. I just worry about his upside because he doesn't necessarily have the traits. I think he's very consistent, and there's not that much that he can improve on. But I just don't know how much upside he has. He seems like he's kind of the player that he is.
I feel like the thing with him is he's pretty average with his get off. Like, he doesn't have crazy quickness. He's not gonna beat you to the spot, and with that, like, you'll find he may be a solid guard in the league for a little while, but I don't think he's going to be an electric Quentin Nelson type player.
But I will say,
for the Chargers.
I mean, you go to the Chargers who are looking to contend this year. They want to get, while Trevor Lawrence is on. Sorry, not Trevor Lawrence. While Justin Herbert is on his rookie contract, you want to go out and get a Super Bowl because they're a competitive team. They're a very good team. So it makes sense to get a guy that's kind of ready to come in and perform right now. So Mr. Laffey seems pretty thrilled about it. He's got the double eye emoji in the chat. Josh Bing says it's a 1 year rental. I think they'll give him the extension. I don't think you trade him just for the 1 year. And even if you do, again, it's a first and a third. I think that's a great pick, or a great trade for the Philadelphia Eagles. Any basketball fans out there? The Suns did beat the Pelicans, which I believe means they're moving on.
Has that knocked out the Pelicans?
They have knocked out the Pelicans. Not much to cover there, but I'm glad to see the Suns moving on. Wow, this the past 8 picks have been
This has been a lot.
It's been electric.
We have the Titans pick in at number 18.
We did miss our break, but we're just going to keep on going because it's too electric to go now.
I think we're probably going to grab our break right around pick 20 after the Steelers pick, after we hear from Josh Bing.
Right, we'll take a small break.
Josh Bing has got to be thrilled with the way this draft has unfolded. Because there hasn't been a quarterback off the board.
That's a great point.
And
I didn't even
Kenny
realize
Pickett,
that.
Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, Matt Corral, they're all sitting there ready to be taken. Slam the under on 3.5. Our model told us not many quarterbacks in this draft, and our model has not been wrong on that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the next 2 picks. I don't think the Titans go quarterback. The Saints absolutely could go quarterback, and you would hate to see, as a Steelers fan, the Saints, picking Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett right before the Steelers kind of force their hands. But it seems almost a guarantee that if the Steelers want a quarterback at pick 20, they're going to get one.
I will say, if I'm the Saints and I'm picking a QB at 19, I know we have Desmond Ridder mocked to them. I know the model loves Kenny Pickett and Ridder a lot more than Malik Willis, but I would not be surprised to see Malik Willis at 19 just because of the fact that he's a raw prospect. I don't love him personally. Our model doesn't love him, but it would not surprise me to see them try and go with the old draft Malik Willis, Let him sit behind Jameis Winston, learn how to make all those bad decisions, throw 30 interceptions, and start him in 2 years once Winston's contract is up.
I think that is a good point, though. I mean, the Saints, Jameis Winston has played well for the Saints, and so
he was very solid last year. I will say that
they're going to be more willing. I mean, the Steelers aren't really willing to take in a guy that's going to be a ton of work just because they don't have they have a great defense right now. They want to get back to the playoffs, want to get back to contending. Mm-hmm. So I think they want a guy that's going to come in and is not going to need. They're gonna, even if they pick Malik Willis, they're gonna hope that he can come in as soon as possible and play. The Saints have some time. They just picked Chris Olave, at their wide receiver, so they have a developing offense, and he has time to sit, that back there behind Jameis Winston, who could really teach. As you said, he could teach him some bad picks, but he could also teach him some good traits to have. He's not a bad quarterback in this league, so. I would like to see a Saints pick at number 19, or a Saints quarterback pick at number 19. I think it would make things interesting for the Steelers. But we're excited to see what's going to happen with the Titans here. I mean, this is really interesting for them to trade away A.J. Brown. Maybe they scoop up Treylon Burks. They got Robert Woods in the offseason. But maybe they scoop up Treylon Burks, steal him from the Packers and the Ravens and the Patriots.
Do we have another trade?
It's not a trade, but the Eagles extended.
The Eagles have immediately extended A.J. Brown.
4-year, $100 million, 57 guaranteed.
4-year, $100 million
contract.
So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that trade again now looks pretty great. The Eagles don't have, I think, a ton of money on their books, from what I can tell. They still have Jalen Hurts on the rookie deal. So I think that, to me, is a great trade for them.
As we have the Titans pick coming in.
Right. But, trading the first and the third for a 4-year receiver, I think that's a great trade for them. Let's see who the Titans pick with the Eagles' previous pick. They're going to go with... They are selecting
Treylon Burks.
All right, so
this
wide
is
receivers...
interesting to see them trade away A.J. Brown. I would have to assume it's because they don't want to pay him. They're not willing to pay him the $100 million that the Eagles are, and they're trying to get him off their books and get a receiver to fill in for him like Treylon Burks. But this is tough to see them lose A.J. Brown and pick up another. As we see, the comp for Treylon Burks is A.J. Brown. That is pretty funny.
Right. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Basically, what I think the Titans are hoping is they're going to get an extra third-round pick, and they're going to get A.J. Brown that they don't have to pay right now. So, I mean, if he does end up being an A.J. Brown-type guy, that could be a great trade for them. But the Eagles get a guaranteed guy, which I really like. Now, what we've seen is that every single one of our receivers, besides Tyquan Thornton, is now picked with the Packers still wanting to pick a receiver, with the Patriots maybe wanting to go receiver, and with the Ravens maybe wanting to go receiver. Even the Chiefs at the end of the first round may want to go receiver. So with not much receiver selection left, it's kind of a question on what these teams are going to do. Maybe trade out of these picks.
I will say one of the receivers we very well could see going here, we were really debating throwing him at the end of the first round. We were almost threw him in there to the Chiefs instead of Tyquan Thornton, but we really just couldn't let Tyquan go. The model just loves him so much. We couldn't let him go. Was Sky Moore, and we could very well see him going in the first round with how many receivers have been taken and how many teams still need a receiver left. Sky Moore out of Western Michigan has shown to be a solid receiver who very well is worthy of a first-round pick and first-round consideration in a receiver-heavy draft.
Yeah, I mean, so you look at this trade here, and you look at this pick. So what does Treylon Burks as well? Well, he's got great size and great speed. Again, a guy like A.J. Brown, good size, good speed. So it makes a lot of sense for them to pick him here. He's physical. He can break a lot of tackles. He doesn't have a whole lot of holes in his game. I mean, what he's worst at probably is the route running, but I think that's something that can be developed. He can get a little bit of speed under his belt. He did run a 4.55, so not the fastest guy, but again, it makes a lot of sense. This is basically A.J. Brown's replacement, and he's kind of fit in there perfectly.
I will say our model loved this guy's production. It didn't love his combine like many people. 4.55 is not the time we were expecting him. He plays a lot faster on film. But I think he'll still be able to serve a very solid role in Tennessee. He's definitely going to have to make an impact. He's going to have to be a day one wide receiver one with A.J. Brown gone. As we see the Saints pick in, and I want to point out, I did drop a little bit of Jameis Winston slander earlier with my comment on how he's going to teach Malik Willis to throw interceptions. He did get signed to a 2-year, $28 million contract, and I like that. I think he is a solid quarterback. I will say that. He's a starting worthy quarterback in the NFL, and he showed that he can produce in the NFL last year with the Saints. So I'm hoping to see them take a project QB in Willis, although our model would definitely lean towards a Ritter pick here.
A Ritter or a Pickett.
Pickett, I don't think Pickett makes... I feel like Pickett, his thing is... It doesn't make sense to go Pickett to the Saints because his upside isn't crazy.
Agreed.
And he's too NFL ready to sit behind someone for 2 years.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't make sense to have him sit behind Jameis Winston for 2 years when he seems like he can already process at an NFL level. From his performance last year, we saw him processing really defenses quickly, getting to his second, third reads. When he needed to, he could extend plays. He led... college football in terms of Power 5 with 42 touchdowns, 7 picks. He was probably the best quarterback in college football numbers-wise last year. And I don't think he quite has the upside that Malik Willis does. So I would be surprised to see him here. I would not be surprised to see him to the Steelers at 20, though.
What I will say, just kind of a couple summary points here. The first thing I noticed is that this trade, these trades, what we've seen is that teams after this offseason are not willing to pay the receivers the big bucks that the rest of the receivers this offseason have gotten. I think teams got scared away by these contracts, by Tyreek Hill, by Devontae Adams. There's a ton of money going into the wide receiver market right now, and these teams, the Ravens and the Titans, are not willing to pay that big money, which is understandable, but, it shows you how big of a ripple effect that has. Also, but, before we talk about that a little bit more, just some guys to keep an eye out as they're sliding down, our board here. George Karlaftis, is definitely sliding. Devin Lloyd, our favorite player, one of our favorite players from this draft, has yet to be picked. So, we'd love to see him.
We'd love to see him at 23 to the Ravens. If they're not taking a wide receiver, and I don't think they should take a wide receiver with Dotson and Burks off the board. Agreed. The only wide receiver I could see them taking is Sky Moore, and I don't know if that's the pick at 23. I would love to see Devin Lloyd to the Ravens at 23 as we see the Saints pick coming in.
The Saints selection coming in. I'd also like to see Linderbaum at 23, but let's see what the Saints...
That would not be a bad pick.
See what the Saints pick here. Trevor Penning.
We got to get Kieran on the line.
Kieran's getting on the line right now this second. Trevor Penning to the Saints.
I will say...
build in the trenches there.
He reminds me of Icky, the way he is. He's a little bit more raw. He doesn't have the pass block. Even though we said Icky's a little bit raw with his pass protection, this guy's even rawer, but he is a mauler in the trenches. If you watch his film, he lays people out time and time again. His run block grade was some of the highest in college football last year, although his competition wasn't up to par with some of the other guys. He is a scary dude.
So we're going to get Kieran on the line here, Trevor Penning's biggest hater, and we're going to see what he has to say. I personally like this pick. Kieran, what do we got? You're on the stream.
I mean, it's just a great day. I mean, Lamar Jackson is safe. He's protected.
Kieran is glad to.
Trevor Penning.
Kieran's glad to know that Trevor Penning will not be joining the Baltimore Ravens. Which I'm
actually thrilled.
I understand his relief, but how do you think he fits on the Saints then?
I mean, he is kind of he's a nasty guy, but he's also a penalty machine. So I mean, he has like the strength, he has all like the physicals, but I saw a stat he has 34 penalties in 30 games. I mean, you just can't have that. That's awful.
I will say, a guy like, he reminds me a little bit of a guy like Garrett Bowles. Not quite the mauler that Garrett Bowles is, or Garrett Bowles isn't quite the mauler that he is, but he was a guy coming out of college that was not disciplined. And he, although he did have some very frustrating years in Denver for the first few years, it was penalty holding 72 time after time. But in these last couple years, year 4, he showed up. Year 5, he's been very solid over these last few years, and he's definitely picked it up to be a solid tackle and worthy of the Denver re-signing him. So I feel like Trevor Penning could have a similar track to Garrett Bowles.
All right, Kieran, any final words on Trevor Penning here?
I mean, yeah, I don't think he's an absolute, like, bum. I just think the penalties are such an issue. I feel like that just takes a while to fix. I don't want to wait 3-4 years for my first-round tackle to be good.
That's true. Fair. That's very fair. Garrett Bowles was a frustrating guy.
All right, Kieran, thank you so much for calling in. We'll let you know if we want to call you in again. Thank you so much for being here.
Go Apples.
All right, so with that, I mean, you see Trevor Penning going off the board. We had him, at 17 on our board. He goes 19.
At 19.
I think that's a pretty solid pick. We're pretty happy with that.
I feel like a lot of these picks have not strayed too far away from our board. One guy who has slipped down the draft board for us, we had him at 7, was Jermaine Johnson. Our model absolutely loved this guy's combination of production, speed, and power. And we'll get to talking about him a little later when he's hopefully picked. Maybe after we come back from break, after we get a little bit of a call from Josh here on the Steelers pick. But that's definitely a slide we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. I will say, I've loved Jermaine Johnson since he stepped into this draft. If he falls to 23, I would love for the Ravens to take him because he's an athletic freak. He gets the ball so well. He's a great run defender, great edge defender. So I would not hate that pick at all. If he does fall that far, it's pretty unbelievable to see him falling this far because I thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. But yeah, I like Jermaine Johnson a lot, and the Steelers pick is in. We'll get Josh on the line after we see what the pick is. But I think this could be the first quarterback off the board here.
I think we very well could see a QB off the board here. I would love to see Kenny Pickett here. I'm sure Josh wants to see Malik Willis, but I just don't think Malik Willis is that guy. I think it's Kenny Pickett. I think Malik Willis isn't even that number 2 guy. I think it's Desmond Ridder at number 2. And Kenny Pickett here, the hometown kid, Pittsburgh, all his college career. So. He showed the ability to develop into a star quarterback at the college level. Why can't he do it at the NFL level?
Yeah, I mean, I frankly, I like the pick. People have been talking about Kenny Pickett to the Steelers for a long, long time, and I think it makes sense.
He's ready.
He's ready to go. He's ready to go. I know Steelers fans want Malik Willis, but again, our model just does not like what he's had. So yeah, I would love the pick of Kenny Pickett to the Steelers. That would definitely be our favorite pick here. But we'll see him. We'll get Josh Bing's reaction. Having lost Ben Roethlisberger, their longtime quarterback, they're looking for a guy that kind of stability to come in, and there haven't been that many quarterbacks in the Steelers' history, and so you're looking for a guy that's going to play there for a long time, that's going to be good for a long, long time. So we look forward to seeing what this will be. Definitely unpredictable.
We did talk about this in our mock draft episode, but Kenny Pickett's a guy who reminds me a little bit of Joe Burrow in the way that he was able to really jumpstart his game in his last season of college football. He really figured some things out over the offseason and was able to make a huge leap from his junior to senior season with one of the best seasons in college football last year after a pretty average season in 2020. And he's a guy who's got that. He's got mobility. He can throw on the run. He does have a habit of throwing off his back foot a little too much, which isn't great for a guy who doesn't have elite top-tier NFL arm strength. So we'd like to see him work on that. But other than that, I feel like he can be a very solid quarterback for the Steelers.
All right, let's see the pick.
Let's see it. I'm feeling Malik Willis.
I think it'll be Malik Willis, but let's see Kenny Pickett. I want to see Kenny Pickett here.
Kenny. I would love to see Kenny here. It just makes so much sense. The Pittsburgh guy, hometown hero.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole whole city
The
be
whole city
behind
loves him. Maybe the whole city besides Josh Bing. But
Besides Josh Bing is not a Kenny Pickett guy, but
we'll see. I mean, Josh Light, yeah, I think he
although
wants
this is
that
taking a
future.
long time.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. Roger Goodell is having a nice long conversation with whoever this guy is. I may have made myself a fool for not knowing who he is, but it's hard to tell.
Is it Misa Green?
It may be Mean Joe Green. I don't think it's
No.
Mean Joe.
No.
I don't think
Franco.
so.
Franco.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. I was gonna say Franco Harris.
It could
but-
be.
Yeah.
It's Franco Harris.
Yeah.
Franco Harris finally, he's getting up there. Will he?
Will
Will
he
he-
announce Kenny Pickett?
It's Kenny Pickett!
That's
Kenny
great to
Pickett,
see.
First
You
quarterback
love to see
off
Kenny
the
Pickett,
board.
the first quarterback off the board. It wasn't going to be Malik Willis all along. Our model knew it. 4.73 speed. He's mobile. He can make all the
He
throws.
keeps his eyes downfield. I mean, he is ready to go pro.
He's ready to process NFL defenses
He's ready for
like
this.
no other QB in this draft.
All right, Josh Bing is on the line. Immediately, we'll get his immediate reactions. But to me, that's a great pick. Josh, what do we got?
JP, how's it going?
It's going.
How are we feeling about this?
Sound like you're feeling pretty all right.
I'm feeling okay. I love that the Steelers had their options there. They had Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis available, and they picked the guy they wanted.
They
got Kenny
picked the
Pickett.
guy that was.
I'm happy.
He
and that
picked
they
the guy.
got the
They
option
picked the
that
right
they
one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a great
I think
player.
they borrowed our model. They
I
they
think
looked
so.
at the
model loved him.
They looked at the previous season stats. They borrowed our model, looked at the QBR, the passer rating, and saw that Kenny Pickett just is the guy here.
Josh, let me ask you something. Kenny Pickett is ready to go pro. I mean, he has all the tools that he needs to step into the team right now and have success. Do you want him or Trubisky as the year one starter?
I think I kind of like this pick. 'Cause I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on Trubisky to get it done. I think they're going to give Trubisky the wave during the first few weeks. But if he doesn't perform, I think they're going to put Kenny Pickett in there, and he's going to do great things.
I like that. I like that pick.
I like that a lot.
Mike Tomlin seems very thrilled. I mean, what I like about Kenny Pickett is he's mobile. He can throw from inside the pocket or outside the pocket, but he always, he's very aware of what's going on. He keeps his eyes downfield. I think it's a great pick. I think you should be thrilled.
I will say he had a brilliant play last year where he pulled off a bit of a fake slide. It looked like he was going to tear his ACL, but he pulled off a fake slide, and it was very impressive. I believe there was almost instantly a rule made against it because it's pretty unfair for defenders. But it was an impressive play.
Would you like to see that play utilized in the Steelers, offense?
I think it's illegal now.
It is illegal
I
now.
don't think we need to be making ACL jokes right now.
That's not. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
But
I didn't even put that together.
I think it is very exciting. That play alone shows his creativity. It shows that he's willing to put it all on the line for his team. And we just saw a trade from the Chiefs into the spot number 21. Probably going to get a receiver.
I'm thinking it's got to be Tyquan Thornton.
All right,
it just
Josh,
has to be.
we're going to let you go. I'm glad you like that pick.
I'm excited.
Sleep on that one. All right. All right. Thank you, Josh, for joining us again.
Do we want to take our break here or after the Chiefs pick?
I think take our break here. We'll get Nate Kroll on the line.
Yeah,
for
we
the
got to
Packers
get Nate
pick.
Kroll on the Packers.
So we're going to take a short
our
break. We'll be back right after the Chiefs pick to analyze that pick. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we're back here. We have a couple snacks. The pick is in for the Packers. The Chiefs went cornerback Trent McDuffie. We don't have him in our top 32, but we don't think it's a bad pick. We like Andrew Booth over him, a guy that's a little bit more physical. If he works on his tackling, Andrew Booth, he's a polished player besides his tackling. But Trent McDuffie's not a bad pick at all. Our model liked him, but just not in the first round.
Yeah, he was a guy who we didn't love a ton just because we didn't love his ability to play man coverage. He wasn't the best in press man. He didn't have a stunning season statistically in the past 2 years. And it seemed like Andrew Booth was a much more polished coverage guy. Andrew Booth was a guy on Clemson, a marquee program in college football, who you didn't hear his name called a ton, which is kind of a good thing at the cornerback position because that means your guys aren't catching the ball on you much. Because he was a guy who very polished in coverage, never really gave up big games, and his main knock was that he wasn't a great tackler. And he still isn't a good tackler.
Yeah, not a good tackler is an understatement. He really is horrible at tackling. But, again, that's something that can be taught. I think, the Chiefs could have used that kind of player. He's very polished, ready to come in and win now. Uh-huh. But I also don't think that's the worst pick in the world.
No, I don't think McDuffie is a bad pick at all. I think we were very close to putting him kind of near the end of the first round. He'll probably be in our early second round mock. We liked him. We didn't love him. We just didn't love him as much as some of the other analysts have loved him. The model didn't enjoy him quite as much as we have the Packers coming in with their selection.
What I'll say about the Chiefs is I think they saw Gabe Davis torch them for 4 touchdowns in the playoffs, and they knew they needed a change.
That is true.
So it's a good cornerback pick, but let's see where the Packers go with this pick.
It's Quay Walker, another Georgia defender off the board. I really would like to see Devontae Wyatt come off the board as a Georgia defender, although we didn't love Quay Walker. We just didn't love him. We thought he's a downhill player, but we thought that there was another downhill player in this class who we mentioned a little bit earlier, who plays a little bit more downhill, and that's Leo Chenal out of Wisconsin, and he is a guy who will jump not only off the screen with his numbers, but on film he jumps off the screen with his ability to fly around the field. He's a guy who you don't see many guys who, when they come downhill, strike fear into other men's hearts. Leo Chenal does that.
That's exactly right. Quay Walker, he kind of just didn't, he didn't have the all-around polished game that we wanted to see in our model. We're going to give Nate Kroll a quick call to see how he likes to fit in that offense, or in that defense. The Ravens did also trade back, we see, to pick 26. We'll get those details soon.
We're looking at probably Tyquan Thornton at pick 26.
Nate, good to see you. The Packers just had their pick, Quay Walker. How do you think that kind of linebacker is going to fit into that Packers defense?
Look, JP, just want to start off by saying I'm not a big fan of this pick. I know there's not too many options left at the wide receiver position, but I feel like we needed to take one. I know we have another first-round pick coming up, but I don't know if it's going to be as juicy as it is at pick number 22. Losing Devontae Adams, losing Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it hurts.
That does.
Especially when we signed Aaron Rodgers with a big contract. I think we need a wide receiver. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Definitely, as a Ravens fan, seeing Hollywood gone, I agree. I want the wide receiver, but it seems like there's just no good wide receivers left. It seemed like if you wanted a wide receiver, I would have thought that the Packers would have traded up by this point to get a wide receiver, but they just didn't end up doing that. I think they got a good defender. I think they're going to bolster that defense. Quay Walker's all right. But frankly, yeah, I agree with you. I think they needed a wide receiver, and they just couldn't get it done.
I think it's another instance where the Packers just needed to be more aggressive and go out and get who they want. You see another year where the Packers don't get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. They failed to do it time and time again. The only time they've really ever been aggressive and gone up and got someone is Jordan Love, who hasn't really. The poor guy just sits on the bench and sits behind Aaron Rodgers. I honestly feel bad for Jordan Love. The guy deserves a chance. He's a very talented guy, but he's obviously not going to play if Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback.
Right.
And they had 2 first-round picks this year.
All right, go ahead, Nate.
Nate, go ahead.
I will say this pick does have more value than the Jordan Love pick. Just from
It
Definitely does have more.
Play Walker, but I always like to see defensive guys getting put in the squad.
I mean, I will say we did have mock Josh Pascal to the Packers at pick 28, so we agree that they needed somebody to bolster that defense. But yeah, I don't know. I agree that they needed to go out and get a wide receiver. Unfortunately, I agree with Campbell. They should have been just a little bit more aggressive.
I think they had the tools to be aggressive this year too, considering they have 2 first-round picks. I felt like they should have packaged their first-round picks, gone up. They could have gone up to like number 12, number 11, give up 2 first-round picks and get a guy like Olave, Williams, one of those blue-chip wide receivers in this class. Whereas they're sitting here at 22 with a second-round graded middle linebacker who is a freakish athlete, but he didn't show up in the stat sheet too much at Georgia. And we'll see what they do with 28.
All right. Any wants for pick 28? Anything you want at that pick? Nate. They seem to have lost Nate. No worries.
Lost Nate.
That not an issue at all. But no, I completely agree with him.
It also seems as if JP needs to charge his phone because we're running a little low on battery. We have a charger right here, readily available in case we have some more call-ins later. And it seems as if our trade analyst Gavin Wicker has some news for us.
So the Patriots Chiefs trade. The Chiefs get the 21st. Patriots get the Chiefs 29th, 94th, and 121st. The Ravens traded back with the Bills, gave them their 23rd, and the Bills gave back the 25th, which is in a couple picks, and then the 130th. This now gives the Ravens 6 fourth-rounders.
That is unbelievable.
That's
6
impressive.
fourth-rounders. I'm curious if they're going to go get 6 Hollywood Browns in the 4th round. Considering they have a very decimated receiving core at the moment.
Giving Nate call back some final words. Nate, we were just wondering, what do you want to see out of that 28th pick there?
I think we're having some cellular issues, but what I was saying earlier is, I mean, my heart says wide receiver. I just don't know if we're going to get much value out of it. I'm honestly thinking we're just hoping for some, practice squad.
No, I'll tell you, Nate. This guy, you might not have heard of him. He's out of Baylor. He ran a 4.28. He's a dynamic, deep threat. You throw him a 9-ball, he's going and getting it. He's running by everyone. This guy is Tyquan Thornton.
MVS replacement kind of guy?
I'm talking MVS
on steroids. I mean,
exactly.
Tyquan Thornton may end up being the best receiver in this draft. We love Tyquan Thornton. If he goes 28 to the Packers, we may throw a party because we just love this guy.
We will throw a party. The Tyquan Thornton narrative must be pushed.
Yeah, so, I agree with you. There's not a ton of value, but if they can go out and get Tyquan Thornton, that's going to be the steal of the draft.
Although, there's another guy at that...
That would make me very excited.
That you should be excited. The other guy I could see the Packers taking is Sky Moore.
He's a good
solid receiver out of Western Michigan.
Western
Michigan. I want to make sure I'm getting that right. I believe
we're gonna let you go, Nate, as the Bills make their pick. But good talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
Bills select
Western Michigan.
With 23rd pick.
We got it right!
A pick that we predicted perfectly.
With 25th,
not perfectly,
but almost. Come on.
We predicted him falling to the 25th pick to the Bills.
This is the second time we've got a pick right, but they've traded up for it. Which just shows we know their front office. We know who they want.
Right.
We weren't allowed to mock trades, so we gave them the pick, and then they got it done.
I mean, I've been saying this the entire time. What they saw the Chiefs game. They said one extra tackle, a little bit more physicality on Tyreek Hill, and they're going to win that game. So they go out and they get Kyer Elam, a physical guy, a strong guy, a good tackler. He has a lot of injury problems. But this Bills front office and this Bills coaching staff is well disciplined. They're gonna teach him well. I think Kyrie Elam is gonna come in. He's an aggressive guy, makes a lot of tackles, a lot of pass breakups. I think he's gonna come in and play very well if he can clean up the penalties.
I think Kyrie Elam is another guy who's had a lot of experience in college. He's played in the best conference in football for 3 years at a high level. He's shown the ability to be a solid go-to corner at Florida in the SEC, taking on some of the best receivers in the country for the past 3 years. He's another guy who, a little bit like Stingley, had an incredible year in 2019, and then particularly last year, didn't have his best season, but that was mostly because of penalties, and we're hoping that those turn out to be outliers because he didn't really have penalty issues until this year, and he had 7 penalties last year. I don't think this will be an issue going forward, but that is the big concern with him, is his penalty issues in 2021.
Now, we did have Andrew Booth mocked over Kyrie Elam. Andrew Booth, I think people are just worried, he's polished everywhere, but he has such a big hole in his tackling that, you're a little bit worried about going up and getting him. Kyrie Elam, we're at the point in the draft where we don't have any super polished, perfect prospects. Everyone's got a weakness. Kyrie Elam, again, he's not the quickest and he has some penalty problems, but he's so physical. I think he's going to be great. He's another guy that you can kind of put on an island, and he's going to kind of take, if he hits you first, off the line, you can kind of kill that route right from the start. So I think that's an interesting pick, and I think it's a very good pick.
I will say, if we have Jermaine Johnson falling to 25 to the Ravens, I feel like they have to scoop him up. Like, they need edge pressure, and putting him across from Dafe, that could be a good combo for years to come.
As a Ravens fan, I would love that. I wanted Jermaine Johnson at pick 14. I was worried that he wasn't going to fall to the Ravens at pick of 14. If they can trade back, get some assets, and then get him at 25. Again, I'm worried about our weapons. I'm worried that we don't have enough weapons for Lamar Jackson. But Jermaine Johnson would be an amazing pick. That would bolster that defense. A bunch of NFL-ready guys. I think that defense could be one of the best in the league next year. Obviously a bit of a homer, but I do have a lot of belief in the Ravens. As long as the Cowboys don't take Jermaine Johnson, which I don't think they will, I think that this could be a great pick for the Ravens.
I don't think it makes a ton of sense. Although he's incredibly talented. Having Dante Fowler Jr. just acquired and Micah Parsons
last year,
I can't imagine they're looking for the need at edge rusher, defensive end. Although Jermaine Johnson is definitely best available right here.
I agree. I mean, Jermaine Johnson, he's an unbelievable player. I really hope that the Ravens can go out and get him. Devin Lloyd is also still on the board. So, some of our guys, some of those edge rushers, those linebackers that we mocked pretty high in our draft, including that includes Ebiketie, Devontae Wyatt, George Karlaftis, Devin Lloyd, and Jermaine Johnson. That's a ton of good talent, good pass rushing talent that the Ravens have to pick from. I know we're kind of glossing over the Cowboys pick, but the Ravens pick, it's an important one. And I like the fact that there's so many good pass rushers, so many good tacklers that are still left on the board for the Ravens to pick here. They should be happy with their position right now.
I will say the Cowboys are also sitting here, and Tyler Linderbaum is still on the board. And he's a guy who we expected to go, we mocked him at 23. We felt that he could go earlier. We just didn't see a place where he fit. He's not a perfect fit on the Cowboys, as they have a center in Tyler, I'm going to butcher this name, Biastes, who has been there last year. He was a solid player last year. He wasn't elite, but I think Tyler Linderbaum here could be a decent pick, just considering he reminds me of Creed Humphrey. In the way he was so polished in college. He had above a 95 PFF grade, which is just unheard of.
Unbelievable.
At the line position. He's going to come into the NFL and be an elite center from day one.
I mean, like I said, I think he is the number one offensive lineman in this draft. I think he will be the best offensive lineman in his rookie year. The issue is, at the center position, he can't really play other positions, so you don't expect to pick him super high just because, the inside line is not as impactful as a blindside blocker. But I do think that he will come in and he will be the best blocker and the best offensive lineman out of this draft in year one. Icky, Charles Cross, Evan Neal, they may, with their potential, with their ability, they're gonna come in and they're gonna play very well. But like you said, Creed Humphrey played so well at center for the Chiefs this year. I think the same thing can happen with Tyler Linderbaum, one of the most hyped up center prospects in the past 10 years.
I think center is also a position where there's not quite as big a learning curve as there is at some of the other positions in the NFL, particularly on the line. That's why you see guys like Creed Humphrey, and why we expect Tyler Linderbaum to come in and be an elite player from day one, as we have the Cowboys taking Tyler Smith out of Tulsa.
Interesting.
He is not a guy we had mocked in the first round, but he does fill the Cowboys' line need, as we predicted them to go with Kenyon Green, the guard out of A&M, who has already been scooped up. But Tyler Smith out of Tulsa here. What do you think of the pick, JP?
I mean, it's a solid pick. We didn't have him modeling very well. We did know that they were going to go with offensive line. They need an offensive lineman. I just don't think this is the right one. We talked a lot about Creed Humphrey. Again, he's an interior lineman. They already have a center, but he's going to be so ready to go in and play. I don't know. Tyler Smith, he's fine. I just don't think he modeled well enough for us, for him to go in the first round. I know he's a first round grade in most people's. He's a bully. He's really strong. I don't know. He doesn't really have the technique that Linderbaum has. If they were going to go offensive line at this pick, I think that should have been the pick. Even though it's a center, I think that would have been a good pick for them.
I just think Tyler Smith, our model didn't love him because he wasn't a Power 5 guy.
Right.
At Tulsa, he was a solid player. He faced decent competition, but he also didn't. His worst game of last year's season was against Oklahoma State, which was one of the Power 5 teams he faced. He faced some better pass rushing, and he graded at a 58.6, which is not a strong grade, obviously.
I will say, so a couple flaws on him. I mean, one thing is he's not the most consistent. Because he gets so many penalties, he racks up the penalties almost more than Trevor Penning. It's a bit of a worry because he's inconsistent. A lot of the times he's going out there and just shoving guys until they move backwards. He has some upside. He's got good strength and good athleticism. He's a real bully. I personally just think that he's not polished enough. He doesn't have enough discipline in his game to go to the Cowboys here. But I understand the pick.
I think he's one of those guys who's a very raw prospect. He has all the measurables to be a very good tackle in this league, but the question is, can he find his technique in the pass game and in the run game? Can he be disciplined enough to lay off the penalties at the NFL level? And will he be able to deal with the uptick in competition he'll see moving from Tulsa to the NFL?
Yeah, all right. So we have the Ravens on the clock here. Again, this is obviously one of the most hyped up picks of the draft, just because we're really as a Ravens fan, a lot of Ravens fans around. This is definitely an exciting pick. Again, they have to go edge rusher here. I think there's so many good edge rushers left on the board. I feel like they have to. I'll be a little bit annoyed if they don't, honestly, because there's just so much talent left on the board right now. But we'll see. Yeah, with that pick to the Cowboys, I don't know. I agree. He's just not polished. And you see Tyler Linderbaum, who's so polished. I feel like they should have gone with him, but I don't hate the pick necessarily.
I don't hate it either. Beefing up I feel like anytime you're beefing up the line in the draft,
right, it
tends to be a good thing.
Agreed.
You look at a lot of teams that have been successful in the past, they've had good lines, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. It really all starts up front, and that's where a lot of good teams have built in the NFL.
So something interesting I've just noticed here. So this is now the second year in a row that the Ravens have had 2 first-round picks. Picking Odafe away last year, as well as Rashad Bateman, and this year having Kyle Hamilton and potentially going defense with this pick. I mean, it seems like what they're trying to do, get a lot of young NFL-ready talent and so that they can clear off the money and hopefully pay Lamar Jackson a big contract. I definitely, honestly, my biggest worry with the Hollywood trade is that Lamar Jackson will not be happy that trade happened. They trade away his favorite receiver for a pick that they're probably going to go defense with. But we'll see what happens. Again, I think they have to go edge rusher. Jermaine Johnson would be great. Devontae Wyatt I would be solid with. George Karlaftis, all right. I really want to hear either Jermaine Johnson or Devin Lloyd because those are, even coming out of the draft, I watched all of their highlights. They're my two favorite players. Two of my, probably top 5 favorite players in this draft. So I'm really hoping for one of them because, they're just electrifying on the field. They just add so much energy to the field. So, I would love that pick.
I will say, it's interesting to trade Lamar Jackson's favorite teammate right before you're looking to sign him to a big deal.
Exactly.
I really hope, I hope I'm not a Ravens fan myself, Denver fan. I'm very happy that we don't have a first-round pick this year, that we have Russell Wilson instead. Couldn't be more thrilled about it. But it's very interesting. I would to see you trade your QB's favorite teammate in a contract year. And I personally hope to see Lamar Jackson stay in a Ravens uniform because he's been so special to Baltimore over these past few years.
He has. So the one thing I'll say, this just kind of goes along with what we were talking about before. I've got a notification. The Bleacher Report panel was split on the Packers pick of Quay Walker. They had a good quote. Quay Walker is what's getting you over the hump. I completely agree that we don't like him and we think he's a second-round player. He's not going to be the guy. Again, that they've been critiqued so much by Aaron Rodgers for being aggressive. It seems like they signed him to the contract and they just kind of forgot about his issues because, they were like, all right, we got him on contract. We can do whatever we want. That's not the case. They should have gone with something a little bit more aggressive. I just don't think he's going to get the job done.
I think when you lose a guy like Devontae Adams and you have 2 first-round picks, you just absolutely have to go up and get yourself a weapon, especially in a class like this where you have a bunch of great receivers.
Right.
And the Packers just kind of sat there and watched as all the good receivers in this class got taken right in front of them while they had the ammunition to go up and grab one of them. Which is pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I would say early on the Packers are my immediate losers of this draft so far. We'll see what they do with pick 28, but dare I say it, what they've done so far is sheer blasphemy. I mean, I just don't like anything they're doing. I love Aaron Rodgers. He's a controversial figure, but I like Aaron Rodgers. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he does, but I want to see the Packers win a Super Bowl. So, if you want to call them my NFC team, that's fine. So I am very disappointed in how the draft has gone so far for them.
I just don't think it's the right move to go get a linebacker who's graded at a second round, not just by our model, but by many experts.
Right.
To go get a linebacker when you're in potentially your last few years of contention
that
with
window
Rodgers.
is closing.
You don't know what it's going to be like when you have Jordan Love. Maybe you go get a young kind of project linebacker who's got freakish athleticism when you have Jordan Love and you're trying to rebuild and build for the future. But when you've just signed Rodgers for another few years and you have that few years open for the Super Bowl window, I don't love the Quay Walker.
It's just, I feel like year in, year out, that we're walking away from the draft, calling the Packers losers. And I frankly, again, as a person that wants to see the Packers win, I'm getting kind of frustrated with it. But we have the Ravens selection now, highly anticipated. Let's see what they go with. I would like offensive line, but really, we got to go with an edge rusher here.
Or Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton. He is a superstar.
Tyler
Linderbaum.
You can't be upset with that at all.
I can't be. Again, there's so much edge rushing talent. I really want some edge rushing talent. But Tyler Linderbaum is going to lock in that Ravens offensive line. He's going to go in there, protect Lamar Jackson. This almost feels like a makeup pick, telling Lamar Jackson, we're still here for you. We're still going to protect you. He's going to come in. He is, to me, aside from the fact that he's an interior lineman, he's a perfect player. You're a perfect pick here. He did not seem too happy. I will be honest. I'm a little bit worried about that. But I think he's going to come in and I think he's going to play great. I like the pick. I would have liked Jermaine Johnson a little bit more, but I cannot hate on the pick whatsoever.
I will say that Linderbaum and Hamilton is a really strong class for the Ravens.
I agree.
Two very, very good and polished college players who are going to come in and make immediate impact at the NFL level.
Right.
I don't love the fact that they traded Hollywood, but to get these two guys in the first round is really impressive from the Ravens.
I mean, it seems like they know what their window is, and they know that the window is soon and basically now. So, they're ready to go win a Super Bowl right now, so they're going to go out and get two guys that are just completely ready to go. They're plug and play guys. The second, they're on the field, they're gonna dominate. You see here, Tyler Linderbaum's fast. You need a fast offensive line in this offense. So really, I mean, I cannot complain about this pick at all. It's not the sexy pick, but I have nothing to complain about besides the fact that our defense, our defensive pressure still needs some work.
I will also say as we see Breece Hall, as one of the players on the board who has a high draft grade on the graphic on the screen. We have to point out that no running backs have been taken in this first round, just as we expected with our modeling. We don't think running back is a huge position of value. As we discussed earlier in some of our podcasts, we graded based on skill at the individual position, and then we use contract data to get some information on whether or not we thought a player was more or less valuable. And we don't think running backs are very valuable in the NFL. We think they're a pretty replaceable position and not a position where you should go even at all with your first round pick unless there's an incredible running back in the late first round.
I agree. Then before we move on, we do have a trade to report, but before we report this trade, I would like to say they just showed a clip of Tyler Linderbaum wrestling against Tristan Wirfs in high school, and he took him down. So I know the game is not a wrestling match, but to see that Tyler Linderbaum is already beating up on Tristan Wirfs, that's what I like to see. Gavin Wicker now has some trade details to announce. The Jets have traded up to pick 26.
Well, so far all we know is that they just traded up to 26. Right now that's all
we have.
We will hear more from our trade analyst when he gets back to us with information in just a few minutes. It's also interesting to see the Jets with 3 first-round picks now. They've already made 2 slam dunk selections so far in this draft with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. And now they're looking to make a third one, putting their pick in at 26. I would love to see edge here. I would love to see Jermaine Johnson. If they pick up Jermaine Johnson, I think they might be the winners of the evening.
I agree. I mean, a draft of Ahmad Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Garrett Wilson, that's 3 guys that we had in our top 12.
3 studs.
And that would be an unbelievable draft. So I would love that pick. The pick is in now. But yeah, Jermaine Johnson will be great. Devin Lloyd, a guy that's flying all over the field. That would also be a good pick. But yeah, I agree. Jermaine Johnson, I think, is the best pick on the board right now.
I just think it's so much. Like, if you get Jermaine Johnson here, you've already got Sauce Gardner. You've already filled in a wide receiver need with Garrett Wilson. And just getting that much talent in the first round of an NFL draft is unbelievably impressive.
What I will say is it seems like... my apologies. But it seems like with all these picks, they're not going to go after, it seems like the Jets are always rumored in big free agency and big trades. They've been rumored with Deebo Samuel. It seems like with all of these picks that they're trading up to get, they may be sticking, deciding, we're going to step outside of the trade market for a little while, step outside of the free agent market and build for the future, which I like. They've missed the playoffs for 11 straight seasons. They need to build up a little bit, and then they need to go crazy. So I think that with 3 first-round picks that are all going to be very talented players, depending on what this 26th pick is, I think that that'll be definitely a good way for the Jets to go forward with all of this talent.
I'm interested to see if they still pursue Deebo Samuel, considering they picked up Garrett Wilson.
Yeah,
because
that's a good
if
question.
they pick up Garrett Wilson and Deebo Samuel, that could be a lethal wide receiver duo.
It would be. And let's see the Jets selection here. Roger Goodell going up to announce it, and it is
Jermaine Johnson. What a draft from the Jets. They have to be our big winners of the night. The model has liked every selection the Jets have made, and it's not often you walk out of an event and you hear the Jets are the big winners of the night.
That's exactly right.
But tonight, it has been the Jets.
I agree. I mean, again, 3 guys that we had ranked in our top 12. Of course, it is still the Jets. You know, you worry that they may not work out with them. But I think with this much talent, our model loves all 3 of these guys so much that I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, Garrett Wilson was our second ranked wide receiver, but he really could have been the first. Jermaine Johnson is one of our favorite edge rushers. The model loved him because of his production. And, of course, Ahmad Gardner, our number 2 prospect, because he's just so good. All of these guys seem like they're ready to come in and produce in year 1.
I mean, the thing about Jermaine Johnson is he's one of those rare guys you find who is raw. Yes, he's got a lot of physical talent, but he also had the production in college. He had almost an equivalent season to Aiden Hutchinson in terms of numbers, and he flew under the radar a little bit in terms of accolades, but he still had 14 sacks and 9 TFLs, which is almost identical numbers to Aiden Hutchinson at Florida State, which is a very competitive school. They're playing in the ACC. They're not seeing SEC level competition, but they're seeing Power 5 competition week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good pick. And I'm seeing green all tonight, except for the Packers green. As of right now, you know, with 27 picks or with 26 picks down, you know, a winner of the night so far is absolutely the Jets. You know, we'll have to take a look at exactly what they traded away to get all these picks. But I mean, they had the 10th pick and they had the 4th pick. So they really only had to trade up one time, losing the 35th, the 69th, and the 163rd pick, getting back to 26th and the 101st. So really, I think that's a great deal for them. And they're coming out of here with so much talent. Jermaine Johnson, you know, he can he's so good with his hands. He's got great bend. You know, a little bit of speed, a little bit of explosiveness could be useful for him. He could work, you know, use some work in the pass rush game. But he's so good at getting to the run. You know, it's going to be hard to run against this team with him clogging up all those holes.
I think another thing we talked about on our, JP just mentioned it, but we talked about it on our mock draft video as the reason we had Jermaine Johnson so high. We had him at 7 to the Giants. We love this guy. One of the reasons we loved him was his combination of speed and bend off the edge. Yeah. Because you look at a guy like Von Miller, he's known for his get off. This guy, Jermaine Johnson, doesn't quite have the get off that Von Miller does. But if you see an elite edge pass rusher, when they win outside, they're winning by bending around the tackle and getting to the quarterback as quickly as possible, getting downhill, and getting into the pocket as quick as possible. And this is what Jermaine Johnson can do with his elite bend he's shown last year at Florida State.
The other thing I'll say, I mean, he looks good. He's got jewels all over his chain, all over his glasses. The suit looks good. I mean, he is ready to be in New York. He is a superstar in the making, in my opinion. You know, this is going to be a guy that I'm going to follow, you know, for years on out. And that's what we love about this project is we've got guys that we're going to follow, you know, from here, you know, for the rest of their careers. We love Jermaine Johnson. You know, we love the Kenny Pickett pick. So, you know, it's really exciting to see us be able to follow all these players from here on out. Jermaine Johnson's definitely going to be one of them.
I can promise you I will be following Tyquan Thornton till the end of his career.
That's
whether it's in
right.
the CFL, the XFL,
USFL.
the AAF,
USFL.
who
The
knows?
AAF is gone.
Who knows where the next league is going to be? But I will follow Tyquan Thornton until he ends his career in football.
Yeah,
because
again,
our model just loves that guy, and we just have to keep bringing it back to Tyquan.
We have to because, again, our model loves the speed, and he has that speed. He has 4.28 speed. You know, he's really one of the fastest guys the NFL has ever seen, and so we just love him for that. He still has a chance to go in the first round. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs are still sitting there really pretty at pick number 30. We'd love to see Tyquan Thornton go. He was actually, again, he was one of our top 5 receivers. We had to move him down a little bit because we understand that, he's probably not going to be one of the top 5 receivers in this draft. But he was modeled as one of our top 5 receivers because the model loves that speed. He's got game-breaking speed. So, I mean, really, he's a track star. He's going to go out there and beat everybody, off the line. So we hope to see him picked in the first round because we just love him so much and the model loves him so much.
I don't imagine we'll see him on day 1. I would hope the dream scenario would be to see him on day 1. A more realistic scenario is to see him on the end of day 2.
Yep.
Which would be great. I mean, honestly, I would love to see him at the end of day 2. And he's a guy who, honestly, I can get behind a team taking in round 2 or 3. It might be seen as a bit of a reach at the time, but he's got game-breaking speed. He's a better route runner than some of the other guys who have game-breaking speed are. He can create separation in the intermediate areas of the field, and once the ball's in his hands, he's unstoppable, and he's lightning fast.
Here's something that doesn't come that often with somebody that's as fast as he is. He's tall and he's tough. You're kind of surprised because a lot of guys at his speed do not have those traits, but he can kind of go get the ball, and he's stronger than people give him credit for. He's 6'2", running a 4.28. That's pretty unbelievable. I mean, Tyreek Hill, of course, he's a great player. He can get up and go catch any ball, but imagine Tyreek Hill, who is a lot taller. I mean, he would be truly unstoppable. And Tyquan Thornton really could turn into that kind of player.
And as we have another trade, I'm looking to see if Gavin can give us the information on this trade. We have the Jags trading into pick 27, and they are giving up pick 33, 106, and 180. Thank you, Gavin, for that wonderful information. And this is an interesting move from the Jaguars.
No, once again, so last year the Jaguars had 2 first-round picks. They go Trevor Lawrence, and they had a pick in the 20s, and they go Travis Etienne, who, of course, got injured, sadly. But you see 2 offensive picks there. Already with the number 1 pick, you see Trayvon Walker. Do you think they go defensive here? I feel like they may do that with this 27th overall pick.
I feel like, there's a lot of talented defenders still left on the board. There's some good edge rushers. But they already took an edge rusher, so I wouldn't expect them to go with Karlaftis or a guy like who else do we have up there?
Devin Lloyd could get thrown off the board.
We could see Josh Pascal, but I don't think we'd have an edge rusher here. I'd love to see Devin Lloyd.
Maybe this is a spot where a guy like Andrew Booth comes in.
That would make sense.
So, yeah, it's hard to tell what they're going to do with this pick. It would be interesting to see if they had 3 first-round picks go to 3 out of their 4 first-round picks go offense in the last 2 years. That would be definitely an interesting choice. I wouldn't hate it. There's some talented guys still left on the board. They made a shocker with Travis Etienne last year. Maybe they pick up another running back with Breece Hall. I mean, you never know with the Jaguars. They're not known for making the best picks.
If they go another running back, that would be tough to justify.
It would be, but let's see. I mean, we really have no idea what's going to happen with this pick. So
this is an interesting one. I mean, they could go linebacker with Devin Lloyd. I think that'd be the most logical pick here.
Yeah, just bolster up that defense.
I can't imagine they're going double edge rusher.
I don't think so, but Devin Lloyd can kind of play anywhere on the field. So
that is. Devin Lloyd, that's good to see. That makes me feel a little better about this class for Jacksonville. If you're going to trade up, you have to get value, and I think Devin Lloyd provides you with value. And I have to say, his fit is just splendid tonight.
He looks really good. Again, Devin Lloyd is probably one of our favorite players out of the draft. We're going to be watching him. I will say I'm not a Jaguars fan in the slightest. Disappointed to see these go into a team that I don't particularly care about. But Devin Lloyd is truly the darling of this draft. He is going to be a steal at pick 27 because he's going to come in and he's going to produce so well. He has good speed at 4.66. He put up a great grade in this 2021 class. I don't want to hear anything about him breaking out in the senior year because he's just like, he's got a good change of direction. He's got good balance, and he's got a good frame. He's just a really well built player.
I think another thing you like to see from a player as they enter the NFL is constant improvement throughout their college career.
Yeah,
And Devin Lloyd
agreed.
showed that. In 2019, he had a PFF grade right around 70. Then he has an 82 in 2020. And last year, he has one right at the tip top at 90
That's pretty
for a
unbelievable.
PFF grade, which is awesome from the linebacker position. He's a guy who just doesn't have really any weaknesses in his game. We talked about it with Mr. Laffey earlier. We would have loved him to the Eagles earlier in the draft. And seeing him at pick 27 is shocking. He's a guy who the only knock on him is his tackling, and his tackling is still at a solid level. It's not unbelievable, but he gets downhill, he plays fast, and he gets to the ball.
Look, I mean, I said this in our mock draft. People say, jack of all trades, master of none. I honestly think he's a master of all trades.
Exactly.
Like, he really doesn't lack anywhere. People have critiqued him for his speed a little bit. I think that's kind of ridiculous. He runs a 4.66. That's plenty of speed. You look at his highlights. He just always knows where the ball is. I think he's a very complete player. He really has no holes in it, no major holes in his game. I feel like he's going to come in and make a difference immediately here.
I think another thing, he's 4.66, but I just feel like he plays faster.
He plays with so much
If you
aggression.
watch his tape, he's so quick. He's getting to the football on nearly every play. If you watch a Utah game, he stands out. He's one of those guys who's going to make incredible plays game in and game out and going to change games for you on the defensive end.
And he's got a really good attitude as we see him lift Roger Goodell way off the ground.
I mean,
here.
that's showing pure power
But
right there.
I'm not sure if you've seen it, but on the inside of his suit, he has pictures of himself and his teammates at Utah. He's got a great attitude. He's just a great guy. He's ready to go, even though he's playing in the city of Jacksonville. Not that, you got guys showing up in clown noses. I think that Devin Lloyd is going to go in and make a difference. I really like the pick. He's smiling. He's happy. Even though he slid way down, he's laughing with people. I love this pick. I love Devin Lloyd. If he turns out, I could see me, a Devin Lloyd jersey on this wall behind us.
I could also, if he turns out to be the guy we think he will be, there will be some Devin Lloyd jerseys
Absolutely.
up in the hall.
I mean, I just love the guy. I love the pick. In his career, he had 255 tackles, 16 and a half sacks. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Unbelievable production from a guy out of Utah. And 3 defensive touchdowns. He knows how to get the ball. So you can see he's got, 5 interceptions. He makes tackles, he makes sacks, and he makes interceptions. That's really unbelievable. Again, a guy that is kind of has a master of all skills here.
I will say the Packers have put in their pick, and I'm excited to see what this pick has in store for the Packers. They've already gone linebacker, so unfortunately, I don't think we'll be seeing Leo Chenal off the board. One of our other favorites from this class.
We could see Nick Benito or Josh Pascal. We had them both edge rushers drafted at 28 and 29, but I agree, probably not a pass rusher. I will say the only good pick that it feels like they have here is Tyquan Thornton.
I'm thinking it's got to be Tyquan Thornton or maybe Sky Moore. You have to get a weapon here. And unfortunately, I feel like you've waited a little too long. You're not going to get the best value, but you just have to go get a weapon.
All right, so here's the deal. All right, we're talking about teams that have made poor decisions, and after I see this tweet, I'm beginning to regret it a little bit more.
This is not good to
Lamar
see for the
Jackson
Ravens.
has tweeted out WTF. That's all. Just an empty tweet with WTF. You worry when you see that kind of tweet.
You do.
Again, we're talking about some teams that have made some bad decisions. Ravens have drafted well tonight, but is it worth it? Is it worth getting Lamar Jackson angry for that pick?
I will say, I'm not trading Hollywood Brown for Tyler Linderbaum. I love Tyler Linderbaum as a player, but I'm not trading a wide receiver 1. He's not the best wide receiver 1, but he's the Ravens wide receiver 1 all the same, and you're picking up a center. Again, the team chemistry, it's very important. Ravens pride themselves on having great team chemistry. They're a good locker room. When you have, you're working on a contract with Lamar Jackson. And the other thing, I don't think he should get critiqued as much as he does, for not having an agent. But that means that he's making all of the decisions based on how he feels. And if he's not feeling good about the Ravens, you hate to see that. That's not ideal. And does it look like we're having Andrew Whitworth.
Andrew Whitworth, the Walter
coming
Payton
up
Man of the
to-
Year, and a Super Bowl champion now.
He is.
He's coming
I'm
up to
curious
make
why
the
he's
pick.
announcing the Packers pick.
I'm not really sure. I mean, the Rams don't have a first
That
round
is
pick,
true. But he could announce
He
the
could-
Bengals.
right, he's a long-time
Bengal. They have a pick coming up here in a couple moments. After we get through the Chiefs. We have one Chiefs pick and
right.
New England.
They traded up for
They
that
traded, yep.
pick. Yeah, I mean, this Packers pick I'm interested to see. I will say my stomach has just dropped at the sight of that WTF tweet. from
That's
Lamar
concerning
Jackson.
as a Raven. If you're a Ravens fan, that is not what you want.
It's not, but you know what? I trust in EDC. I stick with it. I think that we are talented. And look, if we go out and win Lamar's not leaving this year, so if we go out and win a Super Bowl right now this year,
I think this has
there's
to
no
be,
worries.
This has to be Ebiketie if it's not a wide
It
receiver.
could be Ebiketie.
Or Karlaftis at least. Go get an edge rusher if you're not getting a wide
I
receiver.
agree. I mean, again, Ebiketie is someone who's fallen very far from where we projected him. And
This would be about the reasonable spot
Yeah.
for Ebiketie to go in terms of where you would expect a guy like Ebiketie to go based on his projection.
But again, this is we weren't projecting. We think that Ebiketie.
We think Ebiketie down the line. You look at him. He might just be a top 12
Ebiketie
player
is our best ranked player that's still on the board. So honestly, if the Packers wanted the best player available,
We have
that's
a little
Ebiketie.
section of Ebiketie, Wyatt, and Karlaftis that is still yet to get taken, and we think all these guys are going to be impact players.
I completely agree. I mean, yeah, exactly. Our 12, 13, and 14 picks are all still on the board, and so if the Packers want, I mean, they're all good edge rushers and defensive linemen. So, if they want some pressure right now after Andrew Whitworth makes this lengthy speech.
It looks like we're going to have one quarterback off the board tonight.
That is
because
pretty impressive to see.
unless someone trades up, I don't think Green Bay's taking a QB. I don't think New England's taking a QB. Kansas City certainly isn't. Cincinnati certainly isn't.
Minnesota
and
could,
Minnesota
but
maybe, but the only QB I could see them taking is Malik Willis, kind of the project type QB.
Quickly, but before he before he makes his announcement, I will say I don't pray on his downfall, but I'm glad to see that Malik Willis is falling, in line with
our modeling.
And the Packers select here
That's
Wyatt.
good to see.
And I think that's a great pick. I mean, he was our 13th ranked player.
I would have liked to see an offensive player from one of the two Packers picks. I would have liked to see them get Aaron Rodgers a weapon, seeing as they replaced Devontae Adams with Sammy Watkins. But Devontae Wyatt is a guy that we love.
We love Devontae Wyatt. I mean, he was our 13th overall pick, again ahead of Jordan Davis because he put up the numbers. I don't know. He's 6'3", 304 pounds. He's quick. He's got he has a couple questions in his length. He doesn't really play up to his weight all the time, but he seems like he's a very efficient player. He gets to the quarterback a lot. He had 4 sacks and 6 tackles for loss in 2021. He's another guy that's improved since 2020. What he's really good at, he's quick. He's got a very good get off, so he's going to get to the quarterback pretty quickly. He's very versatile. He lacks a ton of moves. He's not He's not nearly as strong as a guy like Jordan Davis. But I think it's a very good pick. I agree. I still think they're losers for the night because, again, you sign Aaron Rodgers to the contract, you get complacent, and you pick 2 defensive players in your first round. But he's absolutely a good pick there.
I think he is a guy who's going to make an impact almost immediately in the NFL. He also, for me, has a higher ceiling than Jordan Davis because he's not just a guy who's going to clog up the middle. He can rush from the inside. He can rush from a 4-3 end technique. And I think he's a guy who can beat players not just with pure bull rush. He will need to work on playing up to his size a little bit, but he beats players with speed and quickness at 300 pounds, which is really impressive for a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good pick. I think Packers fans, they can be mad about the Quay Walker pick. I don't think this is a pick to be mad at. There's no wide receivers left on the board. You just wish there was more aggression from the Packers. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you were saying before. Only one quarterback looking to be drafted here, and that's interesting. But it's basically in line with what we said. I mean, we had 2, but that's just because we felt like there were more quarterback needy teams. I'm glad to see that our model has successfully predicted so far the quarterbacks of this class.
I'm also glad to see that, and I think this model we recognized that there weren't the quarterbacks in this class were not blue chip prospects. There were no surefire quarterbacks in this class like there were last year with Trevor Lawrence, and even Zach Wilson was loved. There was a ton of hype around the quarterbacks last year. And we saw they all performed solid, but no one wowed you. Mac Jones had an impressive year. But this year, there's just no guys that stand out as being an elite, I have to have that guy type of quarterback like Trevor Lawrence was last year.
Right.
And that's why we've seen the quarterbacks fall all the way to the point where we most likely will only have one taken in the first round.
Yeah, and I know we're going back and forth here, but the thing I like about Devontae Wyatt is that, again, the Packers are looking to win now. Quay Walker is not going to get you over the hump. Devontae Wyatt probably also won't get you over the hump, but he's ready to come in. I mean, he's good to plug and play on day one. You know, he's going to come in and make an immediate impact, so I don't mind that draft pick nearly as much because I think he will help them win a Super Bowl. Quay Walker, I just think, is not ready to come in and immediately make a difference. And I think they could have used more aggression. I still have the Packers walking out as a loser, but I think this is a very good pick.
I agree. I think this is the much better of the two picks. It's interesting to see that the Packers have went with two Georgia defenders.
It's true.
Definitely getting defenders off a very strong defense, so you can't be too upset with that. But Quay Walker, definitely the worst of the two picks in my eyes, as we had Wyatt graded at the 13th best player, or 13th, projected to go at number 13, and we did not have Quay Walker in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, the Quay Walker pick, I'm still sitting here questioning. Biggest questions from this draft are, how do the Ravens move forward, of course, as a Ravens fan, and what are the Packers doing not surrounding Aaron Rodgers with the talent he needs? Because frankly, Aaron Rodgers is a great player, but I'm not sure with that offense how they can really win a Super Bowl without that kind of firepower.
I think the guy we talked about earlier, Leo Chenal, if you go linebacker at pick 22 with the Packers, you have to go him. If you're not going Devin Lloyd, which we feel Devin Lloyd probably should have been taken if you're going linebacker as well. But if you're not going Devin Lloyd or Leo Chenal, what are you doing at the linebacker position at pick 22 in the draft?
I agree. I mean, I just don't understand. There's so much good edge talent in this draft. So many good linebackers in this draft. I don't really understand why Quay Walker was the first one off the board for them when there's so many talented guys that were still on the board. I mean, Jermaine Johnson was still on the board, for crying out loud. They play a little bit differently, obviously. But I know we're stuck on this pick, but I just do not understand why a team that's going for the Super Bowl, shooting for the stars right now, in this year and next year, why they're going to make that kind of pick.
I have to point out, I'm also very happy with the NFL draft's pace this year.
We're moving
I feel
nicely.
like in the past, we've had some very late nights with the NFL draft. Although this is definitely a bit of a late one, I feel like every time we've seen a clock ticking, it hasn't been ticking for more than a few minutes.
Agreed.
Picks have been coming in pretty quickly. There's been a lot of trades, which has kept it interesting. And I think it's overall been a really exciting draft to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, that pick from 10 to 20 was truly just an electric time.
That was a crazy stretch. Seeing the A.J. Brown trade come in there,
Absolutely,
the
Hollywood
hype around
trade,
that, the Hollywood trade.
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett at 20 was very exciting.
No, there was definitely a lot of electricity between picks 10 and 20. It's kind of cooled off a little bit, but I think there's still a lot to look forward to even in these last four picks.
I definitely think there's a bit of a prayer for Tyquan Thornton in the last four picks. We could see Sky Moore off the board here to Kansas City, if not to New England. New England is definitely a wide receiver needy team. I'm curious to see who they're going to pick here. I wouldn't mind a Sky Moore pick here from Western Michigan. He's been a solid player at Western, and we get Cole Strange, the guard out of Chattanooga. He is not a guy we expected to go this early in the first round. And he is a guy, I believe we had him mocked in the mid to, I think it was even late second round.
Yeah, frankly, I mean, it might be a bit of a bad pun, but this is a strange pick to me.
Oh, we didn't even have him in the second. We had him in the third.
Right.
This is a very strange pick to me.
I mean, it's questionable, but Bill Belichick, he knows. You feel like he knows what he's doing. You feel like he can go out there,
he does,
and you
but
clearly see something in him. But frankly, I mean, this pick, we don't really have a whole lot to say. We didn't study him that closely because the model just didn't like him. He didn't put up, the combine numbers necessarily that you would. I mean, he
had impressive numbers, but he played at Chattanooga. He didn't have impressive grades.
Right.
In terms of comparable to FBS level players, and he also played at Chattanooga, so he gets a bit of our model definitely takes into consideration the level of competition he's playing against, and as we just spoke about, we have the next pick in. The rapid pace of this draft is it's really keeping me happy. I am interested to see. Also, we're seeing that Cole Strange is also going to be a 24-year-old rookie, which is interesting to see from a guy who might be considered a bit of a project.
Yeah, I really don't like this pick at all. I can't remember if the Patriots have had another pick earlier, but I don't like this draft for them so far. As we see the Chiefs select George Karlaftis. That's a great value pick at 30. We had him going 14 to the Ravens, and in a class full of edge rushers, the only reason I'm saying he's fallen is just because there's been a multitude of edge rushers, right? And
there's been so many good ones that you just haven't looked at him yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a guy I studied him closely because I liked him going to the Ravens early. He's got a ton of power. He needs a couple more moves in his game, but he is so strong in his lower half. His bull rush is unbelievable. I mean, any offensive lineman should be scared. He's got a crazy mentality. He's going to go at you play after play. You can see it on his face. He's ready to go attack, go crazy on some offensive linemen. So really, all you need, as an offensive lineman is you should be scared when he's running straight at you because he has so much power in his game.
I think one of the things we talked about when we talked about him in our mock draft is his versatility.
Right.
And his ability to play both inside and outside the tackle and rush the passer and get after the passer just because of his pure power.
Yeah.
And he's not a guy who's going to beat you off the edge with devastating speed like some of the other edge rushers we've seen in this class.
Any crazy moves. And he doesn't really have all of that. He's
got power though. And he's got pretty good he doesn't have the worst hands in the class, but he's a guy who's going to get to tackles with his power.
Look, I mean, we've in the past we've been a little bit critical of picking guys just because they're strong. But at pick 30, when you're starting to get back, some good value at the end of this draft, I mean, he's strong enough and he's put up enough production that George Karlaftis, I think, is a great pick for the Chiefs here. I would not be too mad walking out of here with George Karlaftis. Who did they pick? Or they picked who did they have earlier in this draft?
They picked McDuffie.
McDuffie. I mean, McDuffie is not our favorite pick, but I don't think it's necessarily been a bad draft.
I don't think it's a bad draft for Kansas City at all.
I don't think so. I mean, they're getting guys that I think may need a little bit of work. They may need a little bit of work when, so maybe it doesn't really work with their window, but Kansas City have Patrick Mahomes, worked out for 10 years. So I think they feel like they have time. They feel like they're going to come in, maybe try to retool a little bit and go back and try to win a Super Bowl with these guys. But I could just see George Karlaftis. I mean, with the right matchup, he's the kind of guy that's going to wreck one offensive lineman all day. I mean, I remember one of my favorite, videos growing up was watching J.J. Watt against the Saints, and there was one guy who was attacking all day. He had four or five sacks that day. George Karlaftis, with his kind of power, if he gets the right matchup, I mean, he will attack that player play after play, and he's going to get to the quarterback for sure.
He also wins well with his hands, and he just does a good job of separating from offensive linemen with power moves. So I'm excited to see what he can do in Kansas City. And as we see Cleveland coming onto the clock, or Cincinnati, excuse me, It's getting a little late here, and I'm getting a little foggy. But as we see Cincinnati coming onto the clock for pick 31, 2 more picks left in the first round, and it's looking like our dream scenario of only one quarterback coming off the board is coming to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is that, we had questions going into the draft. How is our model going to perform? All of our top 17 guys have gone, in the first round. As we get towards the end of the first round, we'll take a look at how many guys we predicted correctly to go in the first round. But it's been pretty impressive. I'm pretty proud of what we've gotten. Actually, all of them but one, Arnold Ebiketie, who of course was our surprise player. We knew he wasn't going this high. But almost all of them have been picked, so there's a lot to be proud of looking at our model with how it's done. Jahan Dotson was a great pickup. Kenny Pickett was a great pickup.
It was also really exciting to see Kenyon Green get picked so early after we decided that he should be the first guard off the board.
Agreed.
It's just been a really overall. It's been a great night for our model. We know our model's not going to be fully examined until a few years down the road. We're not going to really know how well we did until we are able to look back and see what these guys' PFF grades are and how these guys really performed in the NFL. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good about our model. And although we have some sleepers in there, Ebiketie at 12, definitely a sleeper. But we knew that coming in. We knew he probably was going to be a late first rounder, maybe even an early second rounder, maybe even a mid-second rounder.
Right.
But our model is confident that Ebiketie is going to do a solid job in the NFL, and he's going to be a premier pass rusher down the line.
No, what I'll say, we had Kyle Hamilton going 31 here. Of course, we knew that wasn't going to actually happen. But with this pick, I'm not really sure where the Bengals go. I mean, they got to go offensive line. I think there's not really enough talent left at any of the other positions. They're not going to be picking Tyquan Thornton.
They don't. They have quite a stacked receiving core already. I could see them going Ebiketie right here.
They could, although I feel like with Trey Hendrickson having a very productive year last year, I think they're just going to go with the offensive line, the safe pick, protect Joe Burrow. Again, they're doing what their quarterback wants. They picked Jamar Chase last year. Hopefully they go offensive line, something that the Packers have no idea how to do, and that's why the Bengals represented the AFC in the Super Bowl last year, and the Packers did.
If we are thinking about other needs for the Bengals, we could consider the cornerback position in Andrew Booth. I know Eli Apple had a bit of an interesting up and down postseason last year. He was very excited on social media after their wins, and he got absolutely flamed after their loss. But we're interested to see who the Bengals go with here. The pick is in. And I would love to see Andrew Booth come off the board.
I agree. I think that would be a great pick.
Solidify their secondary a little bit. They have 2 strong safeties already, although Jesse Bates may be only in Cincinnati for 1 more year, considering the fact that he hasn't signed yet. And I know a lot of Bengals fans are begging Cincinnati to hurry up and sign Jesse Bates because he's been splendid for them. But the cornerback position could definitely use a little bit of work, and Andrew Booth might be that guy for Cincinnati.
I like that pick a lot. I mean, if they don't go offensive line, I think Andrew Booth. I mean, I want to see Andrew Booth. I think they'll go offensive line. But yeah, Andrew Booth. I mean, Eli Apple is not a bad tackler, and that's where Andrew Booth lacks. So Andrew Booth, he can come in. Yeah,
I feel like Andrew Booth can be a great guy when you're in need of a coverage. Exactly. Coverage down. When it's a running down, maybe you throw Eli Apple out there and let him make some tackles. But in coverage, you have to rely on Andrew Booth.
I mean, on the screen right now, we see the question: will Malik Willis be selected tonight?
And
of course,
the only chance
hope not.
Is Minnesota. Surely it's not going to be Cincinnati.
And frankly, I wouldn't be that surprised if Minnesota, wanted to pick out their future, but they still got Kirk Cousins under contract. I don't see them doing it.
I wouldn't be shocked. They could have Malik behind Kirk Cousins for a few years.
I could see that.
But
here
it would.
With the Bengals selection.
Let's see who they take here.
Oh no!
Oh gosh!
Good, we're good.
That would be really unfortunate.
And it's Daxton Hill.
Excuse me. We did look at this guy a little bit. The model didn't love his production last year out of Michigan, but he is a guy who was liked by some of the other analysts. He had a first-round grade from some people. Other people thought he was an early second-round grade. But he's definitely a guy who's going to help up. And this is an interesting pick because we picked a safety here for them as well in Kyle Hamilton. I think the main reason we went safety is the concerns for Jesse Bates re-signing because he's got 1 year left on the contract. And it seems like the Bengals are really being pushed by fans and to re-sign him, and they really just haven't even shown any progress with him. And this is why they've went with Daxton Hill here.
I mean, look, he's fast. He's good in coverage. And he's a very, very, very good tackler. Actually, one of the best tacklers, out of the safeties. But I don't know, he's a bit small. And he just, I don't know, he doesn't have a lot of flash to his game, in my opinion. I mean, he's quick for sure, but personally, I mean, he's definitely a very fast player. I don't know. I just don't see where he really shines besides his speed. And so, for the Bengals that are going to try to run it back, I don't think that this is necessarily the best pick.
I don't mind the pick too much. I think they definitely could have gone with a guy like Andrew Booth. I would have liked to see that there. But I do think he can provide them with some versatility at the safety position. He's an underrated tackler because of his size. He comes in every time, as you've seen on the film, if you've been watching the draft along with us, he comes in flying when he makes tackles, and he commits to the tackle with no fear, which is great to see from guy in the secondary.
That is true. I mean, even though he doesn't have a ton of strength to his game, his speed and his kind of energy can make up for that.
Yes, exactly. As we see, the Vikings pick is in. The last pick of the night, we have the Vikings fans doing the skull chant. We're interested to see who they take here. It could be Malik Willis. I don't think it will be, but seeing as they have Kirk Cousins extended for the next 2 years, he's been a rock-solid QB, not incredible, but he's definitely been a solid QB for the Vikings over the past few years. And I don't think Malik Willis is the guy right now.
I think to end out this night right, I'd love to see Arnold Ebiketie. I'd love to see Leo Chenal, some of our sleepers, our darling picks in this draft. I will say that I think that the Vikings did they have an earlier pick? No, they traded their pick away, I think. But no, I think they need a lot of talent on that defense.
They traded out of the 12th, yeah.
Right? And so I think that a defensive end like Arnold Ebiketie would be a good pick for them. But before we end here, this is the last pick of the draft.
I know they do have the need of cornerbacks, so Andrew Booth here would not be sense. A bad pick.
I would like that pick a lot.
I would love to see that. That is my hope for this pick. They could go edge rusher and Ebiketie, or another edge rusher like Pascal, who we have, or Nick Bonito. But
even Leo Chenal, that would be pretty impressive.
Leo Chenal, middle line. I don't think. Are they going middle linebacker?
I mean, not necessarily, but I think Leo Chenal, he's a powerful guy. He's a downhill guy.
I love the guy. I can't say I wouldn't love them to pick him here, but it's more of a practically. The Vikings are probably going corner, edge rusher,
right?
Maybe interior O-line, but I would expect to see a corner here, and I would love to see Andrew Booth.
Yeah, Andrew Booth I think would be a great pick. Before the night ends here, we're gonna end pretty quickly after this pick due to
it's getting a little late.
It's getting a little late. My sincere lack of voice at this point. I'm struggling to hit the end here, but we want to thank all of you guys for an amazing show. This has been a pretty electric draft. It's been pretty fun, I will say, to have been disinvested into the draft early on, and then to see where these players have gone, today.
Yeah, this has honestly been such an awesome experience. We've both always been huge football fans, but we never really got this invested in the draft. And this year we've just been fascinated with this class as we've tracked them throughout the year. We watched a lot of highlights. We covered their combines. We took data on their previous seasons, and we've fallen in love with some of the guys as you've seen tonight. And we're just excited to see how it turns out. We also have to thank our mentor outside of school, Dr. Groves, our inside of school mentor, Mr. Starr. They've been super helpful. Also have to thank the Eenies for providing the funds for the Fellows program. And we have to thank Gavin Wicker for being an amazing tech guy tonight and really helping us set up the graphics for this draft as we see Lewis sign another Georgia product coming off the draft board with the 32nd pick.
I mean, this is a pick, we didn't hate him, as a safety. I think he was very early in our second round. He's a good player. Again, I think that there were more productive picks, some edge rushers or Andrew Booth I think could have gone there. I like Lewis Sign. He's definitely a good pick. He's really, he's got great anticipation, great awareness for the game. He is a great tackler, which is very good. And he's pretty quick, so there's not a ton of holes in his game. He can be flat-footed sometimes. He can get kind of beat over top sometimes. But I think this is a pretty solid pick.
I will say this is the 5th defender off the Georgia defense, and that's just really impressive from Georgia, and goes to show you why Georgia's defense was so good last year.
And that's how they won a national championship with these kind of players.
That's because they had 5 first-round picks. That's just unbelievable to see on one out of 11 starters. 5 of them were first-round picks. That's unbelievable to see on a college defense.
Yeah, I mean, this is going down in history. Definitely one of the most impressive draft classes for that Georgia defense that you've ever seen.
I mean, honestly, you look at an NFL defense, most likely you're not finding 5 first-round picks on an NFL defense, much less a college defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty unbelievable to see. We're happy for that team. This pick, as our final pick of the night, it's a fine draft pick. Not amazing, not horrible, but in the slightest. Before we head out, do you want to do immediate reaction, winner and loser? Who do you got? Who do you have?
My winner of the night is the Jets. I mean, I just don't think another team got the value the Jets did with their picks, getting Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson with 3 picks in the first round. They got so much talent that's ready to come into the NFL and make an immediate impact.
Yeah, I mean, with mine, I think I have to go with. I really like how the Saints came out. They got Chris Olave. I believe they also took Trevor Penning. They just got 2 guys that are going to come in, and I think they'll make an immediate impact, and they're going to be a team, that's going to be, they're going to be a team that's going to compete. I think they're sleepers for the playoffs this year. I like the Chris Olave pick. And the last one, honestly, would be the Jaguars. As much as I hate the Trayvon Walker pick, I like Devin Lloyd that much. That I think that he can lock in. My loser for the night has to be the Green Bay Packers. I mean, again, I like their second pick, but again, not showing aggression is something that's so frustrating as an Aaron Rodgers supporter and as a person that wants to see the Packers win the Super Bowl in the next couple of years. I really wanted to see more aggression. Go out and get a receiver. And my last winner for the night has to be the Eagles. I love the A.J. Brown trade.
That is an awesome trade. And speaking of winners and losers, the 2 other losers I would consider, I love the way the Ravens dealt with the draft, but if this Hollywood Brown scenario turns into a Lamar Jackson contract issue, I think this could be a crucial mistake from the Ravens. Although I do think I love their selections with Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Baum. Excuse me. As Gavin has just written on the whiteboard that I am wrong, and he loves the Ravens draft night.
I didn't say that.
He loves Kyle Hamilton and he loves Tyler Baum. And I also have to point out, I did not love the selections of the Patriots. I just don't think Cole Strange is a first-round worthy player. Our model didn't think it. Many of the experts didn't think it. And I think that's just a questionable pick at the end of the first round. I don't think they're a big loser. They had a late first-round pick. You can't be too upset with not getting a ton of value there. But I don't think it was a great pick. And my second winner of the night has to be the Detroit Lions. I love that they got Aiden Hutchinson at 2. Great value pick. We both thought he was our number 1 player. Our model thought the same. And getting Jameson Williams at 12, trading up, I love seeing a team go out and get a guy that they feel is going to make a difference for them, and that's what they did with Jamison Williams.
All right, so after this electric night, we're really glad that we had such a good night. We're glad that we're going to be able to show off, our Fellows Project and our many presentations coming up. But again, once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our mentors, to the Eenies, to the Fellows program, to Admiral TV, Gavin Wicker, our tech guy. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to head out. I'm hopefully going to fix my voice up a little bit and get some good sleep tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good night.
All right.
Gavin.